happens when men's spaces become infiltrated by those who don't have their best interests at hand? It appears that in these current times, or more recently, some feel what happens when men's spaces become infiltrated by those who don't have their best interests at hand? It appears that in these current times, or more recently, some feel that the manosphere has been infiltrated by people that don't have their best interests at hand. Some feel that having women in man spaces have more or less compromised a movement that was seen as powerful by many. But then there are others that will say that many men have lost their focus because their priorities has been more or less finances, fame, or more or less subscribers. But what lies at the heart of this matter in this situation is it appears there appears to be chaos in a space that was dedicated and created for and by men. And while I affiliate with many of the ideologies of the manosphere, I don't know 100% if I am part of the manosphere, but I do respect it, and I do align myself with some of the things they believe in, because there is an attack on masculinity. In this show, we're going to explore the very dangerous nature of how many times when men have spaces and platforms, they can be compromised for a myriad of reasons, whether it be hubris, pride, money, fame, or also the need to more or less control men, or more or less deal with things from their past that they have not got help or freedom from. We're going to explore how Judas, just like the movie Judas and the Messiah, and the Black Messiah, how that movement could have been a very powerful movement, but agent provocateurs have crept in and destroyed a movement that could have been beneficial long term to the black family and the black community. Why is it that every time men begin to start movements, or any man or any group becomes very powerful, they will have agents inside or within that group that will try to subvert it or tear it down? We're going to explore the psychology behind manhood, or infiltrated slander of man, and we're going to talk about the implications of what appears to be a faltering space, and we're going to talk about solutions on how to more or less deal with some of the struggles that men have in these current times. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this show as I bring it to you live from the greatest state in the union, the Tar Heel State. And I need you guys to remember this is their 7 steps to male optimization. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. Is manhood under attack? And has the manosphere been infiltrated by agent provocateurs? You decide. Who told you that you couldn't rise from the morass of your current situation? Who told you that you had to be a slave to the pain of your past? Who told you that you had to settle for mediocrity in this current culture called America? Who told you that you couldn't change your mind? Talk to me. Now's the time for empowerment. And I'm not the Reverend Knight. I'm the kosher clinician.
addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Pull you down till you dry. Pull you down till you dry. All the time, ease my mind. All the time, ease my mind. I know that you're dangerous, I'm addicted to you. I might rent the Lambo and go drive it like it's stolen. I've been living wild, I'm just going through the motions. Stumbling out the Uber, grab my hand, gave me the notion. Swimming in your water, but it feels just like the ocean. I can't lie, I've really been addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Pull you down till you dry. Pull you down till you dry. All the time, ease my mind. All the time, ease my mind.
All right, we're going to get cooking. We're going to get to cooking in a minute. Shout out to everybody. We're going to have a powerful discussion on today because there's been a lot of consternation, guys, ladies and gentlemen, in these spaces of masculinity on the direction that we're going in. As you guys know, there was thought that, that the manosphere has been invaded. And true to form, just like COINTELPRO, it never fails when men begin to more or less form a more perfect union in heteronormative masculinity. What happens many times, you have what's called hyenas, and you have what's called saboteurs that seek to subvert the movement. And it happens many times, guys, because I told you that there are some that don't want to see you happy. They want to see you sad. They don't want you to get the best outcomes. They want you to be servants of their own selfish needs. I told you guys that needs drive behaviors. And when men are not getting their needs met, they don't become the better versions of themselves. The infiltration, guys, many times start in the mind. And it starts in the mind because some of you guys are still dealing with schemas from the past that you have not fully eradicated. You have become saboteurs of your own ignorance because you don't have standards. You don't hold the women in your lives accountable. And many of you guys more or less sabotage yourselves because you allow those women to violate you as a man. I don't know how true it was, and shout out to Oshay Duke Jackson. I respect that, brother. It was cited that he left the manosphere, And while I affiliate with the manosphere, I don't know if I'm 100% with it, but I do affiliate with the manosphere. I do respect it, and I do like some of the things that they're trying to do as it relates to masculinity. But as you guys know, there's been a lot of infighting. It's been a lot of infighting in these male spaces. Some of the women that come in these male spaces don't have any good intentions. Their only intention is to cause chaos, just like hyenas. Just like hyenas, guys. Just like hyenas. They only seek to cause chaos. They don't seek to empower the brotherhood. They don't seek to come into a relationship willing to cooperate with their men. Many come into male spaces, number one, being nosy. Some come into male spaces, too, trying to subvert masculinity. And some come into spaces many times trying to more or less use their beauty and allure to seduce men so that men can get off their mission. But gentlemen, I told you before in the past that you was never allow anyone to violate your inner sanctum as a man. And true to the form in the movie called Judas and the Black Messiah, they became infiltrated, and many times they were infiltrated by the people that looked just like them. I told you guys that many times a hyena is a very ambiguous animal. It looks like a man or a woman many times, but a hyena cannot deal with a masculine lion because many times, just like myself, I go under the sign of fire. I'm a Leo. And many times in my past, I've been attacked as a man because many times a hyena couldn't deal with me one-on-one because they knew that I would destroy them. But many times they would slander me. They would slander me, the hyenas would, and they would get me in packs because they couldn't see me one-on-one. And that's what the hyenas do. They seek to find things about your character to try to more or less minimize your importance as a man. They do it because many times they have insecurities. Many of them have narcissistic traits. Many of them have unresolved issues, and they seek guys to subvert your growth as a man. Now, I need you guys to do me a favor. I need you guys to hit the like button, share this content, because I got some fire for your mind on tonight. We're gonna have some fun tonight, and we're gonna talk about infiltrated, the slander of man. And I'm gonna ask you guys a couple of questions. How many times have you been infiltrated by unsavory and disrespectful women? I'm going to send a special shout out to the good sisters that come in these spaces willing to learn and trying to cooperate. I want to send a special thanks to my dear friend, Sweet Lulu Bean. Much love and blessings. To Alicia Del Rosario, to sister, I can't think of her name, Miss Parker back to basis. They are far and few in between. And see, guys, you know, a lot of men feel that women shouldn't be in men's spaces. And, you know, I would say in theory, I would say that's true in theory. You know, or shouldn't be in male spaces. Some say they should, and some say they shouldn't. I would say in theory, they should be in male spaces. In theory, they should be in male spaces. The good sisters should be in male spaces. But in principle, I can see why. Why not? Because many times when some women come into male spaces, women by nature, guys, are conditioned to think with their feelings. And so when they come into male spaces, many times the things that men are talking about can cause them to feel some kind of way, because sometimes it's classic projection. They're projecting the things that they went through from the past. And so when men try to talk about issues pertinent to masculinity, they really can't say what they want to say many times, because the women in the spaces many times will get into their feelings. So how can men be free in a space that was designed for them? How can men be free, guys, in a space that was designed for them to share their story and to share their pain? As a licensed therapist, I came up with the Manhood Chronicles. I knew back in 2009 that I had a commission to be a therapist. As you guys know, I went to one of the best schools in the country, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I studied there. I studied to more or less understand the intricacies of masculinity. But, you know, one of the things I found out in current times, anytime men talk about their story and pain, it's met on deaf ears. They can never tell their story. They can never tell their story, because many times they're shamed back into silence. And if they're not shamed back into silence, many times it's the hyenas, guys. It's the hyenas, you know. Yeah, the hyenas. The arbiters of shame. The arbiters of guilt. The arbiters of destruction. It is the hyenas. And they always try to shame you back into place. Many times they attack masculinity and they will slander your name. So once again, the question remains is that should women be in male spaces? And I would say, in theory, yes, they should be in male spaces. But on the contrary, in principle, I would say no. Because it's not a lot of women like Lulu Bean that was raised in, you know, traditional patriarchal families. It's not a lot of women like Lulu Bean that have seen masculine authority. It's not a lot of sisters like Lulu Bean that understand what true masculinity is. And shout out also to Chantel Simone. She's another good sister that's trying to learn and recover. I have no issue with women coming to men's spaces if they're willing to learn and see the error of their way, if they're willing to more or less look within themselves and uncover so that they can recover, so that they can be the best versions of themselves. But many modern women, guys, are not adequately prepared to be wife material, because many of them are subjugates of modern thoughts, modern dogmas, and also very liberal principles. So they're not even ready to, you know, be your wife, or they're not even wife ready. And because of that, you got to ask yourself the question, how can they be a benefactor to my life when they don't understand men? And so men become frustrated, men become conflicted because, like I said, men want good women to listen and to learn. So my heart and compassion is for the good sisters. But when you're coming into masculine spaces, be willing to listen, not come into a space trying to subvert it or change the direction or the trajectory of masculine spaces. Create spaces pertinent to women. If men invite you into their spaces, come with a level of decorum. No different, ladies, than if I, being a man, would go into a woman's space. I won't go into a woman's space expecting to change the trajectory of that space. That wouldn't be kosher, and it wouldn't be fit or proper. But many times there are infiltrators that seek to disrupt a movement. And we're going to talk about this COINTELPRO mess. We're going to talk a little bit about Oshay Duke Jackson and these alleged, you know, assumptions that he left the manosphere. I don't know if it's true or not, but I will say that I respect Oshay. Oshay gave me an opportunity. I'm not saying that he's 100% the reason why my channel grew, but Oshay did help me out initially, and I'm forever grateful to that brother. So shout out to Oshay Duke Jackson, because he did see give me a hand in starting this movement and starting my channel. So I'm forever respectful and grateful to Mr. Oshay Duke Jackson. But because so many of our men are not born in masculinity, they don't know what masculinity look like, guys. Many have not seen fathers or men. They do things similar to a hyena. Yeah. They do things that are similar and or synonymous to a hyena. A hyena many times is, no different than a beta male or a simp. Hyenas, especially in the male form, can be very dangerous. They're very dangerous. They don't know what their power is. And many times a hyena will join the matriarchal hyena, which is the woman, in a pursuit to destroy the pride. Masculinity should be synonymous to the metaphor of a lion. Men and lions have pride. In the pride, the female lions respect the authority of the masculine lion. She uses her purpose and her mission to serve the masculine lion so they can protect the pride. You can't build a community, guys, if there's no protection from the pride. And that's what's happened many times now. Our spaces have become infiltrated, and they become infiltrated because some of you men don't have standards. Some of you men let the allure of beauty subjugate you or more or less get you off your track as a man. And because of that, many times, movements have been derailed. Think about women like Cleopatra. Cleopatra was able to destroy Egypt with her beauty. Nothing is new under the sun. Look at Samson and Delilah. Delilah used her beauty. She was a type of hyena to subvert or destroy the movement of masculinity. Nothing is new under the sun. And so, the first initiation or the first infiltration, guys, is of the mind. Many have had their minds infiltrated with negative social conditioning. You guys have never seen true masculinity in its rare form. Therefore, when it comes down to communicating with other men, you blast other men in public instead of having a conversation or a dialogue one-on-one. And many times men allow their egos to become a detriment to the pride. Because when men and women work together, traditional conservative women or traditional women that understand men and masculinity, then the community is better. But so many say they want to see a better community. But, when good sisters like Shalakemia Moffat, she's another good sister, shout out to her. When she more or less advocate for men and stand on cue for men, many try to silence her. Many would try to silence Chantel Simone, and they call them mammies or pygmies. They denigrate and disrespect those kind of women. And sometimes the hyena simp males also join in pursuit, trying to denigrate sisters like Shalakemia Moffat, Chantel Simone, and good sisters like Lulu Bean. So it's a small percentage of women, guys, in my opinion, that are willing to understand where men are coming from. When you come into men's spaces, you got to make sure your mind has not been infiltrated. You got to make sure your mind has not been in a state of decadence, because if your mind has been infiltrated by negative liberal dogma, you're not going to be able to understand where men are coming from. Men are tired of being in silence. Men are tired of being broken under subjugation. Men are tired of being broken under shame. Men are tired of not having the opportunity to say what they believe in and what they want in a relationship. Men are expected to be serfs in modern relationships. And from a clinical perspective, that's not healthy. It's not healthy that men should be in relationships where they cannot voice their opinion and voice their mind. But there are some Judases within these spaces. There are some Judases that are trying to subvert the pride because they have the spirit of a hyena. I'm going to redo some of these comments, guys. I need you guys to share the content, get the likes up. We're going to have a powerful show tonight. Get these likes up. If you have not donated, donate to Cash App, $7Smalls. Also donate to the Super Sticker. I appreciate everything you guys are doing. Let's get this stream popping, guys. Share this content with at least 5 people. To the 26 that are watching, I need at least 5 of you guys. Do me a favor before I start, because I'm about to start cooking in a minute, or microwaving. I need you guys to share this stream to at least 5 people. So when 5 people get this stream, I need everybody to hit 1, because we're going to have a powerful conversation. Oh, I didn't even see these cash apps. So let me read through them. So thank you guys. Thank you to the brethren that have donated. I didn't even see them. So shout out to my man Tim Howe. Tim Howe said that civil war and women love it when and want to see it destroyed. They've been looking for the manosphere to dissemble and fall apart. Yes, sir, they have. You're 100% correct, Tim Howe. I agree with you 1,000%. I agree with you 1,000%. Sweet Lulu Bing said that absorb opinions that have little weight to no thought for black men or traditional values. You're right, sis. I agree with you 1,000%. Sweet Lulu Bing also said, if black women are in male spaces, it should be to listen to black men, not to challenge or belittle their masculinity. Oh my God, this sister is on point. And that's what I'm talking about. See, guys, what you don't understand, Sweet Lulu Bing was raised in a traditional patriarchal culture where the men and the women understand true masculinity. But see, we live in what's called a gynocracy, where the women dictate to the men how to think, and they only want to use you for your own for their own selfish needs. That's why I said men, if they want wives and they're traditional men themselves, they should strive to get with traditional wife-ready women that understand your mission as a man. If she's not traditional, if she's not wife-ready, if she have not more or less been to therapy or more or less seen or been socialized to understand masculinity, you shouldn't waste your time, because you're going to be fighting for power through that relationship. That's why I advocate to the single men, the young men. If you can't find your uncovered gem here in America, focus on yourself, get your weight up, work out, and travel abroad. It does not mean that women overseas don't have issues. It does not mean that there are not some scalawags overseas as well. They are. But you got to look at it from the percentage of the odds. I think your odds are a lot higher in finding a conservative traditional woman abroad in foreign countries like South Africa than you can find them here in the confines of America. And so, guys, I do these shows because I want to see you men get the best. Because it burns me up when I hear some, not all, shout out to the good sisters, they call you dusty, which is it's very disparaging. They call you broke. They tell you that if you don't have a certain amount of money, you can't take them out. They want you to take care of kids and they got other men, take care of another man's seed. They want you to take care of his seed. And they don't value you as men. They just see you as a commodity. And because some of you men have been conditioned to see yourself as less than, then you take the belittlement, you take the shame, you take the derailment of your masculinity because they have the spirit, guys, of a hyena. And then you got the simps, the beta male hyenas that come and, they dragging their knuckles too because they follow the matriarchal hyena. And so when you have a masculine lion like myself and other masculine men trying to form a pride, which is a community, they're trying to shame you. They'll slander your name because my name has been slandered. They'll say, oh, he's controlling. They'll say he's very toxic. They'll even lie and say, he's abusive to women, physically and verbally. They won't have any evidence, but they are lie because they have not been conditioned to see true masculinity in its purest form. See, when you go to foreign countries like Brazil and South Africa and, Colombia and Medellin and Cali, Colombia, you don't have to fight for power. You don't have to fight for your voice in the relationship. Those women fall in line because they understand the importance of the mission. Those women fall in line because they understand the importance of the mission. They know the importance of following their man. They know the importance of leadership. And I'm going to have a special guest on tonight, my man and my dear friend, my brother, LAR Movement. So I'm going to drop the link for LAR Movement only for him. This is for LAR Movement. It's only for my brother, LAR Movement. And he's a good brother. He knows a lot about what's going on in these spaces. And we're going to break this thing down comprehensively. LAR Movement is someone that I call the Duke of the Manosphere. He's been in these spaces for years. So I'm going to invite LAR Movement to come in, and we're going to chop this thing up analytically. He has a background in psychology. I have a clinical license in clinical social work. I'm an LCSW, have a background in law enforcement. I also was a former teacher. I have 3 degrees, so I'm well versed in what I do, and I'm all about male empowerment. I want to see men empowered. Shout out to my man Gregory Scotland. Gregory Scotland said, looking forward to this. This will tie greatly with Sage conversation. Want your take on women who cut off men in conversations on some of these panels. No doubt, brother. We're going to talk about that.
Right? That's a deal, right?
We are going to talk about that.
That's a bet, right?
Because we cannot form a more perfect union if the women in our circles are not respecting our men. We can't form a more perfect union. Shout out to my man Roshak. He said having therapists and lawyers, PhDs, etc., speaking empowerment is important. No doubt, brother. Hit the like button. Thank you, Casual Observer. Thank you, brother. Much love and blessings to you, sir. I appreciate that. LA, the link has been dropped. There you go, brother. I got you. Hold on, bro. I got you, sir. I got you. We're going to chop up some powerful game in a minute. Right. Lavelle Robinson said it benefits women to create a negative narrative about men. Is that true? So shout out to LAR movement. We still moving, baby. And so LA, I want you to get some clarity to this conversation because I've likened what I witnessed LA as a sublime attempt to destroy the space where men congregate to share their story and their pain. They have been infiltrated LA mentally first, but many of them LA have been more or less seduced by women and their allure, you know, the beauty of a woman. How many men have you seen that once a beautiful woman come into the spaces, they lose their focus, they lose their vision, they lose their purpose and their priorities because some of them are still dealing with schemas because they have been still imprinted mentally by the first woman that have rejected them. So you know LA and I know that some of these women in these male spaces don't come with pure intentions. So as I said earlier, LA, there has been a lot of consternation about if women should be in male spaces. I said in theory, I think they should be allowed, but under certain conditions. But in principle, I would say no, they shouldn't be, unless they're willing to serve and understand the mission of masculinity, unless they're traditional women that grew up in traditional families with traditional fathers, and they've been through therapy and they can prove that they've been through it. But in general, they shouldn't be in male spaces because many times, LA, they seek to sabotage it. No difference than Judas and the Black Messiah. So how would you like to answer this conversation, LA? There's been a lot of upheaval. There's been a civil war in these spaces, sadly. And I think some were hoping that it would happen. And some are glad that it's happening because they don't want to see men in power. So tell the audience who you are, brother, and let's have a conversation.
The name is LAR Movement, you know, on YouTube. So LAR Movement, still moving. A little bit under the weather still, so excuse the voice.
Yes, sir.
The thing about ladies in the space that's interesting is that ladies have been in this space for a minute.
Okay.
And they pretty much, for the most part, are on the program of the manosphere. Pretty much, you got some people who can get roguish.
Right.
But in some ways, they are necessary to spread the message to other women.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
But in a weird way, they're also necessary because you see how quickly guys become hypocrites as soon as ladies appear. So they might say something publicly, but they do something different privately.
Yes, sir.
So it doesn't always come off proper. So, you know, and unfortunately, just like any other thing, money and women get in the mix and people start kind of losing their way, or they start losing the message and start posturing, for positioning, or let's say, not just positioning, but maybe clicking up.
Yes, sir.
And at some point, I think us as men, we're going to have to say, okay, is it when the women show up that we do this, or is it when an ideology that's different from ours shows up? Because at the end of the day, we're, you know, I'm in the Black manosphere. So the thing about it is, you don't get to stop being a Black man the minute women show up.
Yes, sir. Right.
You can't turn that around and then say, oh, well, you know, I'm halfway in now. Either you're in or you're out. And as far as like, let me expound on that as far as infiltration. See, we've known there are guys who have feminist mindsets and they want to infiltrate the space to warp it into a gynocentric feminist type of, this is what these guys are really saying. And it's like, no. You need to be in the Black feminist sphere. You don't need to be a Black man coming over here doing that. And a lot of this stuff gets murky, it gets ugly, because nobody really wants to, nobody cares about history.
Right.
So people come into the space very, a lot of times, subjective on a narrative that they might have watched some videos or watched some people, but they've only gravitated to what they liked. So they don't know. Snuggles, you know, they only gravitate to what they like. So they haven't expounded with other people to see what else this space has to offer. So the only Black manosphere they know is the Black manosphere that they deal with. So it's, as far as this drama, it's a bit more murky than even the people at the top of it know.
Okay. You've had privilege to be in these spaces. You are one of the, what I call the original progenitors. You know, I would say you, Black Ram 313, Oshay, Duke Jackson, Obsidian. I would say you guys are some of the early
Angry
pillars.
Man, I'm not gonna leave him out.
Right, Angry Man. I forgot about Angry Man. Yes, sir. Shout out to Angry Man. Angry Man. You guys are some of the earlier pillars that, you know, I remember you cooking for, you know, you was talking for years. I used to follow you, and I still do. I used to listen to your commentary all the time because you're very philosophical and very poetic, true to being a Sagittarian. But now, LA, it appears that, you know, there's been a lot of infighting, and there's been a lot of what I call, it's almost like a civil war. And true to form, with art imitating life, it looks like, once again, infiltration, Judas and the Black Messiah, where people are coming into these spaces to try to destroy what was built up for whatever reason. Because, see, I don't have an issue with people holding people accountable, but there's a lot of infighting. I don't know if because other men have gotten in other people's ears, what I call the beta male hyenas, or I don't know if some of these women have got into these men's ears to try to subvert the movement. I don't know if it's a combination of both. What's your take on that?
This really has nothing to do with the women. This one.
Okay.
This has more to do with money, clout, the ability to grow, friendships, and entitlement. So this current little thing, you might have friends who had a falling out. And some friends feel like, hey man, if you're at a certain point, you should put me on.
Right.
But the thing about it is, what if we are friends, but we're going in two different directions as far as how we're presenting ourselves?
Right.
If my way is working, you're gonna probably have to present yourself more fashionable to my way if I put you on.
Right.
You can't come in this space that I created your way, because it's probably not gonna go over well.
Right.
So if you can't comport to that, then I can't help you.
Right.
Because, you know, it's gonna be a contradiction. But the other thing is, what happens, shout out Grinch, what's happening? But the other thing is, you got guys who, what if you told me not to talk to somebody or rock with somebody?
Right.
But then I see you rocking with the same person. Now I don't know if I could trust you or not. But the deeper question sometimes is, when they told you not to rock with this person, were they right? Because now if they went double back and then they started rocking with this person, you're gonna be like, man, you're being a hypocrite. And it's like, yeah, you gotta admit that. Now, for some guys, it's gotten to the point where you got two different sides. Like, what is that? What was that? What was the Avengers movie, the Civil War?
Right. You had Captain America, Iron Man. I don't know.
On opposite sides.
On opposite sides, right. Mm-hmm.
Well, both sides feel like they're right.
Right.
And both sides have a point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think where the separation comes in now is the message that both sides are aligning themselves with going to be right in the long run. Mm-hmm. And one side looks dead wrong and the other side looks more right. Right. And it's like, well, I shouldn't say dead wrong. One side looks right and one side looks wrong. So, but the problem is the people who have an issue, I don't think they're looking downward more so than they're looking up with who they have issues with. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they see how many people are coming from underneath them. And they're thinking like, okay, I found a space in a way, this is how I'm gonna get on. I'm gonna kind of ride the drama wave.
Right. I see your point, right.
And I think by the time they see that, it might be too late.
Right, and it's unfortunate, man, because, you know, a lot of time on these platforms, you know, I've met some good brothers like yourself and some other brothers. Mr. Palmer's a good brother, you know, I respect them all. But sometimes, you know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so sometimes the guys that you associate with got beef with people that you don't have beef with. Right. And so it puts you in a weird predicament because you're like, should I rock with them? Or, you know, but my logic is this. If they haven't done nothing to me, you know, that's between y'all. I don't care about that. I'm not going to stop being, if somebody had issues with you, I'm not going to stop being cool with you because somebody else got beef with you. You haven't done anything to me. I don't have anything to do with what your issue is with that person is. If LAR movement has been cool with me, I'm going to keep treating the LAR movement right. Now, just say if you had issues with, say, I don't know, we're going to come up with a fictitious name, Joe Blow Channel. I'm not going to stop chopping up with you. That doesn't make any sense to me, you know? And so sometimes people want you to stop being cool with somebody because they got an issue with them. But, you know, I'm like, that's y'all stuff. But I'm going to still treat both of y'all right because I don't have an issue with you or the person that you have an issue with. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, that's where it's getting at now. Like, a lot of people don't realize there are people in this space who have issues with each other. Mm-hmm. But from my experience, it's people think. Most of the people I've heard people say don't mess with, right, are actually not in the black manosphere. Mm-hmm. They're people who hover on the outside of the black manosphere, and they use black manosphere type talking points. They're not people who are actually in the space. But for the people who are actually in the space, a lot of times you might assume that this person is with this team and this person is with that team. So these people are not gonna mess with each other.
Right.
But in reality, if these two factions have differences of opinion, they're gonna be people on both sides that are cool with each other. Mm-hmm. That are not, you know, that are cool with each other, that are respectful to each other. But where it comes in is, what happens when there has a neutral party who is not on this side and not on that side? And what happens when you attack that neutral party? Right. Then what happens is, now I really don't mess with you. You might think I don't mess with you because of this team versus that team. No, I don't mess with you because of what you did to that neutral party over there. Mm-hmm. People have made assumptions about who dislikes whom, and it's not and maybe you're right that people dislike people, but don't assume that you're right because of the way you thought it. Right. There are people who think, man, I know you don't rock with me because of this. And it's like, no, they don't rock with you because of this. Mm-hmm. It's like, They know about that? They seen that? Yeah. They didn't like that. That became the problem.
Right.
You know.
And you know, this infiltration in theory, and I say in theory, and shout out to my man MC Wellness in Recovery for that $5 super sticker. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Thank you, MC Wellness in Recovery, a relapse show. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you, sir. But a lot of this, LA, is counterintuitive to what we're trying to do as men. You know, this movement has gotten bigger and stronger. You know, some people are angry about men coming together. Some people are trying to sabotage it and destroy it. And I agree with you. Some of my best allies have been some of the sisters that are supporting me now. So once again, as I said earlier, I don't have an issue. In theory, I don't have an issue with women coming to men's spaces. But in principle, I understand why men say they shouldn't. Because once again, many have been liberally indoctrinated, see men as the enemy. Many are part of woke culture. Many have been victims of prior hurt. And many are absent of having what's called traditional fathers. So they don't really know what true masculinity look like. They've never seen it. And so they come into men's spaces many times seeing men as enemies. And, you know, Ellie, I could never understand something, man, you know, and shout out to the good sisters once again. But many times men are denigrated in male spaces. They're ashamed. You know, they call them broke, dusty, like the Cynthia G's of the world. We're going to talk about her in a minute. Call them broke, dusty, lames, you know, small phallus, you know, and, you know, no one says anything. They don't say your dad is black. You shouldn't talk about black men. But as soon as men say, I don't want a woman that's had a lot of fun, I don't want a woman that's got a bunch of kids by different men, it's almost like it's a thinking error, you know. They become locked up in their own thinking. They have the Medusa complex because they can't look at themselves. Why the hypocrisy, in your opinion? And how long has this hypocrisy been going on, in your opinion?
The hypocrisy has been going on for years. Mm-hmm. Just in this space for years. Mm-hmm. And partially that's part of the reason why the ladies don't, outside of the ladies in the space, that's partially why people like hover on the outside and attack the space that are women, mm-hmm. because they've been in the space having the conversations with men, and they don't look as intelligent when they're having an actual conversation with a man.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Their points don't come across so well. Mm-hmm. So they stopped interacting. You know, but the delusion has been there. The first part of the question was again, because I was about to say something. I want to make sure I'm on task.
Well, I was saying first part of the question. I said, why is it that, you know, we live in a world where, you know, women can have their preferences, and I don't have a problem with it. A woman should have a preference to say what she wants. But, you know, she can say a man can't be broke. He can't stay home with his mom. He can't be short. His phallus got to be a certain length. He got to have a certain amount of money. Many that have children don't want men with children. But when a man turn around and say, L.A., okay, that's fine. I don't want a woman that's grossly overweight. I don't want a woman that's been ran through. I don't want a woman with kids by different men. I don't want a woman that can't help me meet my mission on the earth. Then all of a sudden, you hate black women. You know, your mama's black, but they don't say anything about the man's father being black, which in essence is cognitive dissonance, because, you know, I created an acronym called DEAF. They deny the evidence when you present it to them, L.A. They become enraged when you present them with the evidence. They argue to ad hominem attacks where they attack the messenger instead of attacking the message. And they fight you, L.A., or they leave, they flee. And so what I've experienced, L.A., I've done it by experiment. I've said some things sometime to see how loyal some of the women in these spaces were. The ones that are loyal, they stay with you and they rock with you. The ones that are not loyal because their ego is not developed and they're dealing with some unresolved issues, they leave you or unsubscribe. I'm going to say this loudly. There are women that I don't necessarily agree with, but I don't unsubscribe from people. You got to do something very egregious for me to unsubscribe to you because you have a talking point. To me, it's very immature. Just because you have a difference of opinion, you're going to unsubscribe, or I'm not going to talk to him anymore. Almost like a little child, L.A., you know, when you don't agree with him, well, I'm going to take my ball and I'm going to go home. Women and men should have a right to live their lives on their own terms. But for the last 50 to 60 years, men have been silenced into shame and limited LA from a clinical world, a clinical concept that we call the right to self-determination, which means to live your life fully on your own terms, free of shame and free of harassment. But that's why a lot of men say they don't want women in their spaces, because there are some mature sisters that'll listen and they understand where men are coming from. But some get triggered because they know what we're saying as men is true. So once again, they don't deal with you, don't see them anymore, they unsubscribe, you don't hear nothing else from them. But we did shows talking about men taking care of the children. Men need to stop being dusty. Men need to stop being broke. They'll be clapping you on, cheering you on. That's right, brother, get them. I remember they were like that when I was in church back in the years ago. But when men start saying, okay, this is what I want, then all of a sudden, you're misogynistic or you hate black women. It's the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life, because I don't have an issue with women having a preference. When women used to say men are broken, dusty, it didn't bother me, because I know I'm not broken, dusty. When women say, some women say that men don't take care of their kids, don't bother me, because I know it's not me. But do you see that dichotomy of thought, LA? It's a dichotomy of thought. Many times it's tied to rebellion, ignorance, and selfishness. Some of it's tied to trauma, but all of it's not trauma. We're not going to use trauma as an excuse for this hypocrisy. But why is it, in your opinion? I know part of it is because we live in a very guidance-centric culture, but does it not cause you to be angry when you see the hypocrisy? When you have good women in LA beginning to speak up for brothers, like Shalakimia Moffett. I'm going to show a clip on her in a few minutes. They call her mammies and pygmies, call Chantel Simone pygmies. It's foolish. Anything about supporting men and masculinity, the women that want to support black men are met with shame and ill repute. But these are the same women sometimes, LA, that feel like you should give your life for free, all in the name of this, fictitious notion called the black community. I want you to address it, brother.
I'm going to give y'all a little bit of a backstory. Mm-hmm. There was a Black Manosphere 1.0. Mm-hmm. They really paved the road for the people in 2.0, but it was really burnt down to the ground by the time the people that was considered 2.0 got it. The biggest difference between the guys in 1.0 and the guys in 2.0, and the women even that they were talking about and talking to, was few people cammed up. You didn't see their face. This is important for one particular reason. Mm-hmm. What happened and what you're seeing now was part of what 2.0 did. You may have all of these narratives. You may have all of these stories. You may have all of these beliefs about black men being all of these things. But you wind up getting on a camera and actually having a conversation with someone who didn't fit your narrative. Mm-hmm. So when you meet people, even online, that you have a difference of opinion with, and they are part of the group that you have a problem with, and they don't fit the narrative, but you still couldn't get along with them.
Right.
If they have preferences and you have preferences, and they may fit your preferences, and you may fit their preferences, but you still say, not good enough, then it becomes a you problem. Mm-hmm. So when it became a you problem, people ran to their corner. We talked about the ladies, like the ladies that you have up right now.
Right.
The issue with the ladies is ultimately they're nicer to men, and they have the ability to put themselves in other people's shoes. Mm-hmm. And most women didn't do that. Mm-hmm. So now you got ladies who know the only direction I wanted is mine.
Right.
So you're not a man unless you think how I want you to think. And now you're seeing women like, that's not going to go on.
Right.
These men are not doing that. These men are not like that.
Right.
And now everybody's mad at men because guess what? We are not the men that you could get over on.
Boom. Right.
So now, because we're not the men that you can get over on, and the women are saying, I can get along with the type of men that you can't get over on. The question is, why can't you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Got a dog next to me. I told you that.
Oh no, you're fine, brother. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. Shout out once again to the good sisters, Crim Secure, Dominica Marie, Chantel Simone, Riva TV, DD, Shay Charday, Security Boss Unsolicited, and Shalakimia Moffitt. Once again, ladies, you're not going to agree with everything men say in men's spaces. It's okay. But you should be willing to listen and to learn and understand where men are coming from. To the 48 that are watching, go check out LAR Movement, subscribe to his channel, but also get the likes up. Let's get this stream up to 100 people. We got a heavy hitter on here tonight. I call LA the Duke of the Manosphere. You know, he's a Duke, you know. You got kings, you got barons, but he's definitely a Duke. And, you know, one of the things I love about LA guys, you know, when my channel was extremely small, he always showed me love. And I don't know, maybe because of the intellectualism in him, but he always showed me love. He always reached out to me. He didn't say, well, you only got 200 subscribers, so, you know, I won't come on your channel. And I'm going to say this in front of everybody. If my channel ever get to the level some of these guys get to, I'm not going to ever feel like I'm too big to come on a smaller platform. That's goofy to me.
Let me pause for a second. He took a dump. The puppy done took a dump right next to me.
Okay, all right, go ahead, Elliot. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, brother. Go ahead. You fine. So we're going to continue to talk about it, guys. Guys, get the likes up. Let's share this content. And I thank you guys for supporting the stream. Thank you guys for the 50 that are supporting the stream. Lavelle Robinson says, sometimes the separation is very necessary. Men need to deal with men issues in our own guild. Women have to deal with issues in their own guild. You're 100% correct, brother. I agree with you 100%, Lavelle. Sweet Lulu Bean said that there are conversations better suited to come from women. However, a man was always made aware of what was happening in his house. And you're right there. But do you guys feel that, you know, to the brothers that are listening and the sisters that are listening, these spaces have been infiltrated similar to COINTELPRO, similar to, how can I say it, you know, Judas and the Black Messiah? Because one of the greatest indictments on men and masculinity, especially some that were not raised in strong families where they had strong fathers, is that if they're not careful and they don't do things on principle, they can let their ego get in the way of the movement. There are some men that are listening, you know, they only want to, you know, as long as they're above you, then they cool with you. But, you know, if you grow to be bigger than them or whatever, then they get in their feelings or their ego. And listen, I got a big ego. I have to be careful myself. I have to be careful that I don't let the dark side of my nature take over and subvert the greater purpose of the mission. But sometimes that happens, and that happens a lot of times. And because of that, we can't grow as a continuum. Everybody can't be the king. We all have our own intrinsic gifts that we can add to the whole bigger collective. But we let our egos get in the way based on insecurities from the past. Many times, some of the men that are listening, as I said earlier, have the spirit of a beta male hyena. They don't know what true masculinity look like. They don't know what diplomacy look like. They have taken on the nature of a hyena. Binary, you don't know what it is. It's very ambiguous. They might have genitalia like a man, but they have the mindset like a female hyena. And they more or less subscribe to the hyena because they have been infiltrated in their mind. When they see a masculine lion, they can't rock with a masculine lion because they know a lion that's a man will destroy them one-on-one. And so they struggle with authority and power. They struggle with their own insecurities because they are not used to seeing true power in rare form. But as I said before in the past, I respect all men, brethren, esteemed brethren. I respect all men, but I bow to none. There's not a man on this planet that I think is better than me. Whether you got 1 million subscribers or whether you got 2 subscribers, I don't deem you better than me. Do I respect you as a man? Of course I do. But do I see you as better? No, I don't. And so when we learn to set aside our own petty differences and our own egos for the cause of the greater good, we can have what's called homogeny in these spaces. But true to form, many times it's like great movements were destroyed because men let their egos get in the way of the greater picture. They let women sabotage the movement because many times those men were imprinted by women in their younger years. I want to pull up a stream that I had with Shalakimia Moffitt. I did a show with her, and she's an awesome sister. And we're going to share the stream that she was talking about, because the stream that Shalakimia was talking about was very powerful. They call good sisters like Shalakimia a mammy. They call Chantel Simone a mammy. They call any sister that seek to advocate for black men and black male rights mammies. But these are the same women that say they want black men protection. Make it make sense, guys. Make it make sense. And shout out to Mr. Palmer, the homie. Shout out to him.
Come on in. Hey, amazing people. I want to pull it up. It was, okay, so it was a video, and the judge was reading off the paternity, right? And the little boy was not the man's, right? And some of y'all might have seen this video, and he looked like he was about to cry. I think a tear may have dropped, but you could feel his hurt through the video. And then the woman said to him, I told you, but the backstory behind it was that somebody in her family told her that the baby, was not his. A man is not just running around tracking a woman down, wanting a paternity test if from the beginning she said the baby's not yours. Who told him the baby was his? You see what I'm saying? Like people, what I don't like, here goes the video. What I don't like is that don't try to sit up here and make it seem like, the woman wasn't wrong. She was wrong. You told that man at some point that that baby was his. And I have women in the comments like, well, all races of women do that, not just black women. Why you gotta, I said black women need to stop shaking my head. That was the title of the video. And when I say black women need to stop, just know who your baby's dad is. That's all. That's all I'm coming to say. Know who your baby's dad is. That's it. That's it. Because why is there so many black women that don't know who their baby's dad is? And you done come on, a few of y'all done sat up and blamed the baby.
And say, guys, I would say women like her should be in our spaces. I respect sisters like Shalakimia because she has a very pure heart. She's trying to grow. She's trying to help and see black communities and families come together. But sadly, many don't want to see it, sadly. And that's why these conversations are so important, because many have been infiltrated and they have the spirit of a hyena.
On somebody, the man done paid child support, done went to jail and everything. Came back, baby wasn't even his. Come on, let's be real. These are the conversations that they don't want to have. So when I put this up there and I'm like, black women need to stop, and then all black women are offended. What are you offended for? Black men have been bashed for so long. Bashed for so long. Who was sitting up here coming to their defense though? So it's cool to go ahead and bash a black man, but I can't come on social media and be like, oh, black women need to stop. You also talking about black men need to step up to the plate and take care of their kids. They need to do this. They need to do that. Okay, it's stuff that us black women need to do too. So what I don't understand why take offense. Then you had women on this post defending, oh, that's unfortunate that happened to him, but he should have listened to her when she told him the baby wasn't his. She never told him the baby wasn't his. A family member told him that. You see what I'm saying? But how do you justify something like that? How do you justify? It's like anything to justify something that a black woman do wrong. It's like, you know what? And this is why I don't have many friends. I don't want to be around black women that won't hold me accountable. Because I'm wrong. I'm not always right. I'm wrong. Hold me accountable though, with love, baby. With love, hold me accountable. Don't go along with me because you my friend. It's too many black women out here with that go along thing. You're gonna go along with it, baby, until it's your son. You're gonna go along with it until it's your son.
And I agree with Sister Shalakimia. Some of you women that are listening, you guys have boys. Y'all have boys. Do you want your sons to go through disrespectful women? Do you want your sons to be victims of paternity fraud? Do you want your sons to be victims of depression with women that don't honor and respect them, only see them as a paycheck? I never understood it, especially to the women that have boys. You should want your son to have the best woman that he can get. You should want your son to be happy. But some of you, because of pride and your loyalty to the sisterhood, you many times were, shut your sons down or minimize the power of your sons for the sake of saving face. And when good sisters like this young lady come to speak up, then all of a sudden, she's a mammy and a pick-me. It doesn't make any sense.
Then you're going to draw the line. But you know what? A lot of the women on my content that sit up and do stuff like this, I'm telling you right now, they're going to be put in situations where they got a front row seat to a baby. They got a front row seat to a baby. Just like you sit up here and disrespect black men, somebody's going to disrespect your black son. Just like y'all sit up here and y'all friends be keeping their kids, from the dead, this and the third, and you sitting up here supporting the foolishness, somebody's going to come and do that to your son. A woman is going to come and keep a baby from you and your son. And then you're going to see how it feels. That's why we have to stop condoning and supporting stuff like that.
LA, what's your take on this young lady, Shalakima? Shalakima has shown a lot of love and support for black men and black men lives and black men content, but sadly, this young lady is called all kinds of names. They call her pick-me's, mammies. They call her fat. They call her all sorts of crap. All because she has a heart for seeing families and communities strong. But, many talk about building the black community to LA, but they shame good sisters like her. What's your take on that, brother?
That perspective is a perspective that people don't want to hear, because it'll let women know that they need to be accountable, like you said, like she said. What goes further along with that is that what it looks like is there are a lot of sisters who are so far gone, they don't even know how to get back to fair. Mm-hmm. And when somebody points out these things, fair becomes evil. Fair becomes a loss.
Right.
Fair becomes an alternate universe.
Right.
And I don't think a lot of these people feel like they can actually adjust to actually being fair to a person, until, once again, it affects them personally.
Right.
And the pick-me thing, the women like Shalakimia, it lets women like her and other sisters who talk like this have had to learn a wholehearted, disappointing truth about our modern day sisters.
Yes, sir. Right. Modern day sisters, right.
That if they can't get over, then you're an enemy. Mm-hmm. And ladies are like, I don't know no girls like that. And my friends are not like that. I never met a woman like that. But you ask women who talk and think like this, they know a lot of women who are all of these negative things that people say they never see.
Right.
Because these ladies come out, with the fangs out, with the guns out, with the insults out, with the "I'm gonna get you fired" out, And it's like, well, here's the problem. And I hate to say it this way, but women like that seem happier as human beings, whether they're married or single, than the women that they're talking about and we're talking about. Right. The guys find those type of women more attractive, even than the Instagram models. Would the guys sleep with the Instagram models? Yeah, but they wouldn't actually take the Instagram model home and have a conversation with the Instagram model.
Right.
So ladies are fighting an uphill battle because the only women you're gonna be able to date are women like yourself.
Right. Right. No, you're right, man. And, you know, Elliot, we're on the precipice of war. We don't know how this Ukrainian conflict with Russia is going to go. Luke Casely, she's from a country, I believe, in Venezuela. Women like Luke Casely is, you know, what I think many traditional men dream of. They dream of women like herself because she was raised in a patriarchal culture where she's seen the women respect men. I saw this dear sister in many spaces. She's been on Kevin Samuels. I've seen her, Kevin Samuels, the lead attorney. She's been in a lot of different spaces. Good sister that actually contributes to what men are trying to do. But many times, LA, many don't understand that we're really beginning to see some of the ravishing of what's called cultural Marxism. We're beginning to see it in a more subtle sense. And people that lived in countries where it was in its full form, they saw the negativity of being silenced as men. You should never seek to silence a man for saying what he believes in. I believe in the freedom of speech where men and women both should have the right to say what they want. Men should have the right to say, I want a certain type of woman. I don't care if a woman says she wants a certain type of man. But you got to ask yourself the question, do you qualify for the man that you say that you want? Because we don't never ask the man, LA, what he wants. Like Michael Jackson said, they don't really care about us. A man's supposed to be the sacrificial lamb just for the sake of the cause. But what is that man getting in return? Sojourner Truth, LA, said it better than me back in the past. She said, am I not a woman? Where modern men are saying, am I not a man? And just like true to form, you know, I'm a Leo, you know, born under fire just like you. And, you know, I've been slandered, the slander of man. You know, I've been slandered, LA. I've lost jobs because hyenas could not deal with me one-on-one because they know that I would destroy them. So what they do, LA, you know, like I'm seeing people doing this goofy stuff, doxing folks, looking up folks' personal information, you know, trying to shame folks into silence, threatening to come to people's houses, you know, making these beefs about goofy stuff, knowing that with some men, and I do have a background in law enforcement, they could lose their lives. You're going to put your life on line for a petty beef? Because trust and believe it, anybody seek to hurt me, you're going to feel the heat. And I'm just being real. You know, I don't bring it, but I will end it if you try to hurt me and mine. But it's foolish, LA, some of these goofy men, because some of these goofy men have the spirit of a hyena. They co-sign on bad female behavior. They'll just say, well, men should protect women, LA, just for the sake of them being women. But who's protecting that man, LA? Who's protecting his honor? Who's protecting his ego as a man, LA? Some of you women want men just to protect them and just give their lives, you know, just, you're supposed to be a bullet bag, you know, put your life on the line just because you're a man, you know, you're a man. But you want to pick and choose when you want to be modern. When it's beneficial for you, you want to be, you know, you want to be modern. But when it comes down to the get down, then you want to be traditional. And at some point, LA, it's going to get down to that, where some of the ones that are saying, you know, I'm strong and independent, don't need a man, they're going to have to fight for themselves. They're going to have to be that strong matriarchal hyena. They're going to have to be that strong matriarchal hyena, LA. Where they're going to have to fight for themselves. Luke Casey said, she said, should women be in male spaces? She said, only if they are specific for guidelines for their participation. Yes, dear, I agree with you 100%. Also, Luke Casey asked a question, have male spaces been infiltrated by male and female hyenas? Yes. Womanism has what's called entryism as part of their plan. And she is 1,000,000% correct. Shout out to Luke Casey. It's the spirit of the hyena, LA. And LA, I think it's getting worse, man. You know, I think it's gotten worse, LA. You know, you've been in the space longer than I have. And like I said, I affiliate and associate with the manosphere. I don't know for sure if I'm part of it, but I do respect it and I do support it. But, you know, why do you think the uprise in this infighting, this civil war? You said partially it's egos and people getting put on. But are some of these egos justified in your opinion, LA?
Some of them are, but they're the minority.
Okay, talk about that.
There are some people who have a legitimate gripe, but they're the minority. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we like to talk about single mothers and how single mothers have raised their sons and daughters to not actually deal with life the best way. But one of the things that we're having to come to terms with, there are grown men who were raised by single mothers that act that very same way, and they're trying to hide behind being masculine.
Yes, sir. I agree. Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden, when they're doing it, it's manhood. No, it's not manhood. And you got ladies who are willing to pat a grown man on the head, like, that's how you're supposed to do it. And guess what winds up happening? Mm-hmm. He winds up going too far, mm-hmm. burning bridges, mm-hmm. all for the sake of, the gynocracy. And guess what? The gynocracy is never going to help him.
Right, right. I've seen it firsthand myself. I've seen it. I've seen some of these goofy guys, I'm going to protect women. But those same women turned on them because women only respect masculine men. They only respect power and strength. If you're constantly pandering to a woman and trying to get her love and affection, she don't respect you. She'll use you for your goofiness, but she'll never respect you as a man. Keep talking, brother. Go ahead.
So, now we're dealing with the idea that, we thought, how can I say this properly? We thought there was a certain type of guy who was like a male hyena. Mm-hmm. But there are certain male hyenas that we've accepted when we thought they were in lion's clothing.
Right.
Or we liked them, or we're cool with them, so it's okay. But what you're seeing is the unraveling of that too, because it's like, wait, I can deal with certain things, but there's certain things I can't. There's certain lines I don't cross. And like lying on somebody blatantly is a line that most men can't cross. I can't befriend you when I find out you lied on somebody blatantly.
Right, right.
I can't befriend you or I can't co-sign you or rock with you or even say, okay, what you did was justified or just when you said one thing that was when you were disrespectful to a person, then you became respectful to that person, all the way to turn right around and disrespect that person again and say, see? It's like, no, I can't do that. I can't say I got a problem with you, but when I see you, I don't have a problem with you. But when I don't see you, I tell everybody I got a problem with you again. And then brothers go, that's man stuff. No, that's not.
Right, right.
No, that's not.
Right.
So same thing that goes on for guys who don't realize this. I can't say that, oh man, you're for black men when you just came into a space of black men. And the only time you want to talk about black men is when you're talking about black men negatively for your own personal gain.
Right, right.
So now, we're at that point where people are thinking that people are making the assumption that, hey man, anything goes, and that's manhood. And some people are running into the brick wall of like, oh, y'all actually got rules? You actually got standards? But I wanted to be in a space where men could just do whatever they felt like without repercussion.
Right.
It's like, no, you can't do whatever you want without repercussion. And the only problem with all of this is, and this is where infiltration and slander are a big problem. Mm-hmm. When you don't care to believe, you don't care to find out the truth because you want to believe what you want to believe because you don't like somebody or you want to be in somebody's position. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's when everything goes left because people find out the truth and can find out I was wrong in this situation, but then double down anyway. And say, well, I'm going to be a man by doubling down on being dead wrong.
Right, right, right.
And this is the same thing the ladies are dealing with who are, dealing with the pick-me. These ladies that call them pick-me's don't like them.
Right.
But these ladies double down on their misandrous ways with men and wind up alone, angry, bitter. And maybe it's your bad ways that got you there. And you can't comprehend that maybe if somebody's having a better life than you because they're a nicer human being than you. That's all that is.
Right.
But if you want to be mean-spirited, you can't turn around and be a victim. So what we're seeing right now is there are a few people who have a justified beef, who are surrounded by people who are instigators, antagonizers, and how can I say this? Narcissists.
Right.
No, not just nihilists.
Nihilists,
just
right.
Anarchists. Just flat out anarchists.
Right. Well, I think it's a combination of all three: nihilists, anarchists, and also narcissists. I think you're correct. I think it's a combination of all, because I've seen some definitely manifest narcissistic traits. Some of them are nihilists. This burn the city down. And some of them are anarchists. They don't believe in order. Anarchy, just let everything do what it do. They don't believe in order. They don't understand male decorum. They don't even understand male respect and male virtue. And they don't understand LA in terms of the times. We don't have what's called a true community, because these last elections, LA, and I don't want to get too much into politics, a large percentage of the women that say they want protection, they didn't vote for, the black family, the black man, or the black collective. They voted for themselves. But then all of a sudden, you think black men are supposed to give their indentured servitude. Y'all supposed to go protect us. You ain't did a damn thing for us. You didn't vote for masculinity. You voted for your selfish self, because LA, a lot of these women are black woman first. They're not black family, right, black community, or black man first. They are black woman first. And I say, I'm fine with it. But just don't get mad when I turn my back on you. Don't get mad when LA Movement turn his back on you. Because men want to feel honored and respected. I said before in the past, LA, if you protect his 6, he's going to protect your 6. How do you protect his 6? You got to validate his ego. You got to respect him as a man. If you don't protect his 6, then guess what? He's not going to protect yours. But some of you women think, just because you have a vagina, a man is supposed to give his sovereignty away, LA, just because of this nebulous concept called black. Tavis Smiley said it better than me. My skin folk is not my kinfolk. I like something that Angry Man said. He called them Beanos, black in name only. And so shout out to Angry Man for that. I'm not going to he made that terminology. But he said black in name only, and he's correct. But some of these people think, just because you're black, you're supposed to come together or whatever. But black folks, even when we were in Africa, LA, we weren't one. We were forced into oneness under the ravages of Jim Crow racism. You probably, from when you was in Africa, your ancestors, you could have been from Sierra Leone. My bloodline goes back to Nigeria and Cameroon, Congo. We were from different tribes, different countries, and different ideologies. Our skin colors were the same, but we were never one. You got European Brits, you got Spanish, and you got Portuguese. Many of World War I and World War II and the axis of power, there were white men fighting against one another. They had the same skin color, but they were not the same in ideology. But people assume just because you're black, you're the same in ideology. And that's not the case. Let me go to some of these super chats. And Luke Casey is correct. She says some of these goofy men had come after me after trying to explain the cultural Marxism concept. Too many are now willing to hear the hard truth. And that culture Marxism, LA, is something that's permeating our culture. Let me read through these cash outs real quick. Shout out to Top Gun for that super sticker of $5. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. Shout out to James Turner. James Turner always show me love. Much respect to James Turner. James Turner, we're going to do it big this year at some point, brother. We're going to get you down to the sunny shores of either Brazil or Thailand. I'll be so grateful when God bless you with your queen. You're a good brother. I love you, man. And thank you for everything that you're doing, brother. Thank you for supporting the stream as always. Thank you, brother. Shout out to Lionheart. He says salute to Kosher and LAR. Keep up the good work. Shout out to Green Beret. He said the cattiness of and beef amongst men in the manosphere is dangerous. You're right, Green Beret Media. I've seen the behavior destroy other spaces online. You're correct, brother. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Shout out to Luke Casely, dear. Thank you, Luke Casely. Thank you, Luke Casely. Hold tight.
That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
I'm going to shout out Luke Casely in a minute.
That's a deal, right?
But Luke Casey says, sadly, when there are no established rules, we see the increase of extremism. Yes, ma'am. These extremists in the manosphere will cause it to fail. Some infiltrators will use them as an example to shut it down. And they're trying to shut it down. They're trying to silence the voices of masculine men. They're trying to kill the male lion because they don't want you guys to be men. They want you to be serfs. They want you to serve them. They want you to bow at the feet of the gynocracy, which is a form of misandry. men being serfs. Shout out to Dr. T. Hassan Johnson. He called it the ConcuServe. I call it the commodification of subjugation. They basically want men to be commodities, to be subjugated to the rules of the women. They don't want men to have a voice. They want men to give their agency away. They want men to give their power away for the sake of serving them, similar to the queen bee. So shout out to Luke Casey, dear, you're correct. And at some point, Luke Casey, as this stream go on, if you're still up, I would love for you to come on, pop in and talk about the dangers of cultural Marxism, the things that you experienced when you were in Venezuela. But thank you, dear. He said, gotta come through. Shout out to my man Ismail. Gotta come through and show LAR movement some love. One of the few content creators that I watch consistently from a masculine, mature masculine content. Peace to Coach Clinician in the chat. No doubt, brother. Thank you, Ishmael, brother Ishmael. I appreciate it, dog. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. And okay, that's it. Right, we got it. All right. So, you know, LA, what I'm going to do, man, we're going to look at this very violent woman, Cynthia G, because she's trying to equivocate LAR movement incels with black men to follow Kevin Samuels and men in, yeah, you laugh. And men in the manosphere. So you and I are gonna surgically break this foolishness down, man, because I saw this very violent woman. And so, guys, I will warn you, this is fair use. I will warn you, this woman is very, I do not endorse her language, her foul language, or the violence of her language. But I warn you guys that Cynthia G is very violent. So this is fair use. All right, so hold tight, guys. All right, so that's fair use. Hold tight. We're going to break this down with this woman because she is equivocating black men becoming incels, which is foolishness, LAR movement. I saw Mr. Palmer do this show, and I'm going to critique it with you. She ran him down, and they always conflate the truth with lies. So
what is that sound? Hold on. Because I hear something that keep beeping. I don't know about y'all, but I keep hearing something beeping. But anyway, I'll figure out what it is. Look, if the bandits want to come in here and learn, they can learn if they want to. I'm really like it. I don't care about the bandits, really, to be honest. Like, to be honest, I couldn't care less about these bandits. The bandits are going to get their reckoning because they're dumb. So it just is what it is. Bandits are dumb, and therefore bandits are going to pay the price of being dumb because they don't know, apparently, how stupid they are. They lack foresight. And when I do this live stream, it's not in any way, like, trust and believe. I'm not in any way, none, in no way at all. Am I?
Ellie, as we move forward, what's your take on this woman, Cynthia G? You know, she seems like a woman that's in a lot of distress. If I had to look at her from the clinical perspective, from a clinical impression, she does a lot of scapegoating, a lot of displaced aggression. She definitely have a lot of cognitive distortions. She definitely have thinking errors of magnification and minimization. And she have what's called selective outrage. But you know more about the history of Cynthia G. I don't know that much about her. But what's your take on this woman? Because she appears to be very violent and very bombastic. And then we're going to critique this stream. But go ahead, brother.
Oh, man. Cynthia, I'm going to start. You know how you start off with a positive first?
Right.
Cynthia can make some good points. But a broken clock is right twice a day.
Twice a day, right.
But she has a tendency to make her points are disingenuous. Mm-hmm. And the problem with that is people have an issue with Cynthia because the thing she says and does, you have to really reach for some of those things. Like it's not like a 2 + 2 is 4 type of logic. It's like carry the one, cube squared, put it in parentheses, divide it, and then you see here's the answer type of thing. And it's wrong anyways. But she's of good use because Cynthia isn't the problem. Because she can be easily debunked in a conversation, and she knows it, and it's been done so many times. She's one of those people who's been in a space who've gotten debunked. And she'll talk like this on her own page, but if she's in a conversation, she'll do the, I don't want to talk, I'm done, I just leaving because this is ridiculous, this is too much. And usually it's because, you know, her talking points don't really stand up against facts. But look at her audience. Her audience grows because there are a lot of people who think like that. Right. And they think it makes sense. So the more she grows, it should let you know how many people actually think the way she thinks and thinks it makes sense. She's a beacon for delusional thinking. So sometimes that's necessary for people to see, because people go, oh, you could dismiss somebody as, oh, they're a little extra, they're a little over the top. They might be a little crazy, they might be weird, they're selling cognitive dissonance. But just like the women who believe Derek Jackson and they showed up by the droves, there are women who believe Cynthia G and they're showing up by the droves.
Right, right.
So guess what? Do I believe in the things she says? Absolutely not.
Right.
But the stuff that she says, are there a bunch of women who believe it? Absolutely. What's disturbing is some of those women probably have sons. That's what disturbs me about these situations.
Right.
Because I don't think, right. So now, you know, that becomes a problem because, hey, your son, you're going to subjugate your son until he can grow up and be grown to this type of thinking and behavior.
Right. And you know what, LA, there's a slander of man. You know, many men, you know, the simp hyena has been infiltrated mentally by his toxic mother. You know, I call her the matriarchal hyena. And some of these women have been infiltrated mentally by liberal indoctrination for some of these liberal schools. And it's led to what's called the slander of man. LA, I'm sure you've been through it. I've been through it. Like I told you, there have been situations where I've lost jobs, not because I did nothing wrong, but I just exercised my God-given right to tell the truth and say what I believe in. Being 6'5" and 6'6" many times with a crisp mouthpiece, it intimidates some people, you know. So, but I'm not going to hold my head down and hide my glory to try to appease nobody. And, you know, LA, I'm sure you've been through slander as a man. I'm sure there have been folks that have lied on you to try to make you become silent because you've spoken very eloquently and you're very masculine as a man. Correct me if I'm wrong, if it has not happened to you.
Yeah, it's happened, but, you know, I'm a person who I don't necessarily care. Because if you slander me, you know, if you talk crazy about me, I want to know the truth. Are you willing to slander me to my face, or are you just willing to slander me behind my back?
Right.
Because I'm going to make you slander me to my face when I show up. And I know most people are not willing to do that.
Right.
So I don't take slander that serious because I'm like, you're just talking. Brother, I'm about to say something that I feel like a church person. It's on my heart.
Go ahead and say it, brother. Go ahead. The old folks said, let the Lord use you.
We're at a point where you have men and women who are so far gone that they think slander is normal because it ain't them that's getting slandered.
You're 1,000% correct. I agree. You're correct.
So now, when you've got accustomed to thinking that your slander is normal, when people are holding up a mirror and just showing you who you are, not who you slandered, but who you are, you look at yourself like a vampire looks at his reflection and sees nothing.
Right. Right. Right.
So now we're at that point where, you know, the internet is a funny thing. You can find somebody's contradictions if they put up enough material.
Right.
But where we went wrong is you ignore the majority of who somebody is to find something that may be contradictory. So if you saw this person 100 times, you can only find 5, and you purposely ignore 95 to prove a point. And everybody knows you ignore 95 because you feel like, hey, man, these people will hold on to this 5% for dear life. So I say that to say this. You folks, since society has changed and become cowardly, you folks better have a good understanding that people have been taking the higher road because they had better things to do. But when they say if you knock on the devil's door, don't get upset when he answers. Y'all been knocking on the devil's door with good folks, right. And these good folks are running out of patience.
Yes, sir. Right. Right.
So since you've been playing dirty, since you've been manipulative, since you've been lying, since you've been cheating, since you've been slandering, since all of the fair game tactics are good, understand the good people are about to be like, okay, it's on. It's on, right. Gloves off, it's on. And there will be no, but you a good person, you're not supposed to do that. No. There will be no sympathy for a lot of y'all. There will be no mercy for a lot of y'all. There will be no I'm sorry for a lot of y'all. Because y'all chose this path. And once you choose a path, you choose everything that goes with it.
Right.
The worst thing you could do is pick on a person who could destroy you but chose not to. And now those people are making a choice to say, you know what? You're on the chopping block now.
Right. It sounds like LA, the some are drinking from that bitter cup, and then they're about to suffer the recompense of their error. And, you're right. Men are getting frustrated, man. They're getting tired of being castigated as men. I'm going to finish listening to this woman. And guys, bear with me. I know Cynthia G is very irksome to a lot of people. Her energy, her vibrations are very negative. But this is all for the sake of criticism, also for commentary and education. LA is a very intelligent brother. I love his thinking processes. He's very philosophical. But we're going to talk about some of these idioms of Cynthia G. And LA and I are going to break down whether or not this so-called black manosphere is part of the incel community, if it's true. Shout out to Mr. Palmer because LA Magazine attacked him, Dr. Thunder, and Cynthia G called out Mr. Palmer as well. And they have selective outrage. They don't critically analyze what men are saying. They'll take some out of context and run with it. And that's part of what I call the slander of man, infiltrated slander of man. And this woman is a prime example. So hold tight. We're going to finish breaking this thing down.
I'm trying to deter black men from doing anything. I want black men to continue to do everything that they're doing online. I want them to continue. I want them to continue. I'm not sick. My sinuses are bothering me. The spring season is coming in. The pollen is getting high. The weather changing. That's why I'm congested. I have allergies. So I'm not sick though. But let me tell you guys something before I get into these two articles. And one of the articles I think Taz actually already covered, but we're going to go over it just because it relates. But so I was watching the Netflix show, and you guys tell me if you've seen this show on Netflix. It's called Somewhere Between with Paula Patton, who looks as white as her white co-stars, although she's claiming to be a black woman. But anyway, So I don't, everybody in the chat box, if you watched Somewhere Between on Netflix, or if you started watching it, put a 1 in the chat box. If you started watching or have already watched Somewhere Between. If you haven't, you should watch it. It's interesting. But I was watching that show, and on that series, there's a point where there's some trained people who are just working for the uppers. Now, I don't want to give you guys the spoiler alert in case you have not seen it and you want to see it. I'm not going to give you a spoiler alert. But anyway, there's 2 dudes in here. One is a black man, one is a white man, okay, in this movie. They're not the shows, especially.
Hold on, let me speed it up because
their whole scheme, they had already.
Let me speed this up.
Dude opened fire. Their Lord and Savior.
Hold on, LA.
Find it. Oh, I downloaded it. That's what I did. So let me share the screen and show you guys something really quickly. I'm turning off my camera. I gotta sneeze. Okay. I told you it's this weather change with this allergy season. I want you guys to listen to what this man of no color is saying, and then I'll get into these reports.
The word that cannot be written, otherwise this post will get taken down. The Secret Service just issued a 26 or 28-page report. To sum it up, men who can't get women to have sex with them pose a terrorism risk. So that word is incels, which stands for involuntarily celibate. Men who are anti-feminists or involuntarily celibate, who can't get women to date them or have sex with them, frequently become terrorists. They believe they are entitled to sex with women, and they believe they are entitled to attack and kill women who won't have sex with them and the people around them. It happened in 2018 in a yoga class. Dude opened fire. Their Lord and Savior, whose name I won't speak, is the guy who did the mass shooting and mass stabbing down in Santa Barbara at a college, I believe. But it's incels. It's incels.
Homeowners, if you are sick of paying too much money for electric bills and you have a mirror that looks like this in your home, you can get.
So, LA, real quick, let me read this super sticker and read this comment by Clement Gray. Clement Gray said, thank you, brother. Clement Gray said that Coach, you're right, was talking about marriage to an elder. I say we must return to God's word. His response, don't care what God's words. Get with the times. Right, and it's sad. But you know, LA, and I know that many times, you know, incels are not black men. They were always, the incel movement was started by a bunch of white boys. But why is this woman equivocating the incel movement with black men? Because they follow Kevin Samuels, or they follow the red pill movement, or they into male spaces. What is that about from your interpretation as being one of the dukes in the manosphere? What's your take on that?
It's just another way to move the goalposts. Mm-hmm. You know, if somebody's in trouble, just blame a black man. A lot of this stuff is just like the first movie, The Birth of a Nation. Let's just figure out a black man to blame for something in all aspects. People know the incels aren't stereotyped as being black. People know that already. Mm-hmm. The white man, the white guys in the manosphere, they had that white nationalist incel / terrorist thing hanging over their head for about, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years now.
Right.
So they know exactly who they're talking about. This is who these articles about. The fact that a white dude was talking about it, that was white people. White people don't talk about black issues like that. Mm-hmm. The people he brought up were white people. This whole incel thing and violent incels thing started with the white guy who was slash Asian, the one with the crazy voice, Elliot Rodgers. Mm-hmm. I think that was the first coming of how incels can act. Mm-hmm. But Cynthia it has to blame her brother. I don't care if she wants to blame brothers for everything. The question is, if you don't like black men, find you a man that you like that's not a black man.
Right.
If you can do that, go. See, the problem with blaming black men for everything is you're still the same person when black men aren't involved and black men aren't in the room. You know, that's where people are having a problem. You know, you can hate us if you want to. Go be with somebody that hates us too. Y'all can hate us together.
Right, right.
You know, you can point out our negatives. Go be with somebody, you know, you say, great minds think alike, or people who think alike are compatible, or whatever you want. I forgot how you said it, how people say it. I forget, but people are compatible in some things. You know, sometimes the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Go find a friend. Yes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Yes, sir. So go find a friend. But if you're my enemy and you know my other enemy and y'all still can't be friends, that's y'all problem. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a y'all problem now. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you notice, I'm sorry. Brother. No, you go ahead, brother. And you notice how she was doing that on the sneak tip, where she said, acting like she's sneezing. That's all part of her foolishness, like she's sneezing. It's part of her show to say, I got allergies. And then she put Cynthia G, Dustbusters. But here's the hypocrisy. Cynthia G, Sweet Lulu Bean, indeed did get with a dusty man. She got knocked up by a dusty man. She got knocked up by a man and I don't even know if they're still together. Is that true, LA? Is she still with the guy she got pregnant by? Right. She got knocked up by the men that she's talking about. And I think a lot of this, LA, once again, is displaced aggression, is classic projection. And she's dealing with a lot of unresolved issues and trauma. And what she's doing, she's overgeneralizing by equivocating all black men in approximation to the hurt that she's went through. That's called catastrophizing. In the clinical world, we call that a thinking error. Shout out to my man, Charles Mayo. He said, you cannot build a potential enemy among your ranks and promoting them. You are correct, brother. But keep talking about Cynthia G, brother. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Right. The thing about Cynthia is, I think she started with Boyce Watkins, or she started being pro-black. If I'm not mistaken, she started with like Boyce Watkins. She started with the pro-black thing, and then the pro-black thing getting on white people, and then I guess white people got at it too hard, and then she started going at black men predominantly. And we didn't respond the same way that the white men did. So she continued. If we was to respond the same way white men did, she probably would have stopped by now. Mm-hmm. But, they got a little team over there. And the bulk of that team over there had been involved in the black manosphere, even if as far as they were the antithesis of what we were talking about. They were brought along even to be dissenting opinions, so we can see what the two factions are really disagreeing about.
Right.
So now it's like, what we talking about? So her, it's not a big deal. To me, it's not a big deal anymore because she's been debunked so many times. It's ridiculous. It's nothing left to debunk really, because let's be honest, we know what's true and what's not. That's the thing about quote unquote Kevin Samuels. Mm-hmm. Once you start using statistics and facts, and people skip over statistics and facts, that means they don't want to live in reality.
Right.
If you got to base your thing on not ad hominems, but exceptions to the rule, then you're living in a warped reality.
Right. A very warped reality. Then sadly, this woman looks like she got body dysmorphia because, as someone said, it looks like she's bleaching her skin. She's a poor soul. Hold tight.
Okay, now, so who do you think is going to become the face of this report? I want you guys to put in the chat box, do you think Men of No Color is going to be the main attention, the main group of people who is given attention to by the CIA? Put a 1 in the chat box if you think it's going to be Men of No Color. Put a 2 in the chat box if you think it's going to be Black men. Specifically, the Black Manosphere, Kevin Samuels, and all of his bussy popping, dick sucking, daddy deprived, degenerate, dusty babies who want to put out posts talking about protect Kevin Samuels at all cost, even if it means.
And see, LA, you see how violent this woman's mouth is. You see how women like her can pop off at the mouth, disrespect and overgeneralize Black men as a race of men. She equivocate the dusty men that she dealt with by putting me and you and other good brothers in that same category. Men that have done no wrong, hardworking citizens, take care of our families and our children, because she has mental illness or got some mental issues. And she's equivocating all men. Look at how nasty her mouth is, man. But imagine if a Black man, LA, came out and said the same thing. When other men begin to speak back out, they start flagging channels, they get mad, they call Big Daddy government to shut us down. But when you hit this woman with her violent and bombastic mouth, what's circulating in your psyche, LA?
If I'm not mistaken, because I don't keep up with her, and like you said earlier, I think I'm still subscribed to her. I don't unsubscribe to nobody.
Right.
I haven't watched her in a very long time, but if I'm not mistaken, she did the you can abort male Black babies.
Yes, sir. Right. She did say it. Mm-hmm.
So that statement is going to haunt her in the future, because there's no getting around that. You can have a hatred towards men. You can have a dislike towards Black men, and she wasn't the first woman to say that either, especially the first Black woman on YouTube to say that. That was actually something that another sister used to say. A few other sisters actually, but I think she just said it more recently now. But when you're at the point where you are specifically, you Americans sounded like China, when China used to abort the females a few, a decade, 2 decades ago. When if you had more than 2 kids, they got to get rid of it. If you had a girl, they had to get rid of it. You're that. So once you're at the point where you say, look, man, I don't like Black men so much, I don't want you to have Black male babies. Well, a Black male baby ain't a man. So that goes deeper than having issues with Black men. You don't want Black babies to exist if they're boys. Once you go down that path, you can't be taken as seriously. Because I mean, I could reach and say, how much different are you than white people, during slavery, feeding Black babies alligators?
Right.
So, obviously, if you got a kid, it's got to be a girl. Because if you got a kid, if you got a daughter, cool. But what if you would have had a son? Or if Lord knows if you don't have a child, somebody's gonna say, I could have sworn she was pregnant, but now she doesn't have a baby.
Right.
Okay. I never seen a baby. So was the baby a boy? Did she kill the baby? Like, you see what I'm saying? That type of stuff. Even if I could tell you it's unforgivable, it's probably a death sentence for you. Because I think she was on Fox Soul, if I'm not mistaken, recently. What happens when Fox Soul gets a hold of that and say, we don't like the Black men and quote unquote Kevin Samuels so bad we can call him a homosexual, but we can have somebody on our channel that can say, abort a Black baby if it's a boy.
Right. No outrage. Imagine if K. Samuel said that, or any other brother, in these spaces. Whether you agree 100% with them or disagree, that's irrelevant. We're just here to talk about fairness. But imagine if men said it, you know, let's delete all girls. Imagine the uproar. They would have probably the FBI and the CIA on our trail to shut it down, man. But what's happened in LA? The slander of man infiltrated as a way to silence men and their sovereignty as men. They don't want men to have the rights to self-determination. Men are supposed to just be quiet and be submissive to the queen bee. They're supposed to be worker drones. You ever seen a worker bee like a drone? He just flies around, and his mission is support the queen. They don't want us to have a voice. And only thing most men are asking for is just having some commonality. But I think LA, a lot of men have checked out. I think a lot of brothers are very apathetic. They could care less. They don't take women like her serious. I think a lot of men are checking out. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But I want to hear some more from this toxic woman, man. And guys, please forgive me. I know it's hard listening to this woman, but I want you guys to hear this LA and not break it down.
Taking a bullet form. I want y'all to keep that energy. I want y'all to keep that energy. Because I'm going to tell you what, men of no color ain't going to be the face of this because they don't lack foresight. They have foresight. They use foresight. That's how they've been doing what they've been doing and doing successfully. Foresight is instrumental. Unfortunately, foresight is something that Black women lack too. And I'll tell you guys how this situation.
Shout out to Rorschach for that $2 super sticker. Thank you, brother. He says not less incels that are killing, it's Pookie and Sons. And you're correct, brother.
Situation relates to Black women who choose to not use foresight when it comes to Black men either. Black women are incredibly intelligent and brilliant in every way except when it applies to men. When it applies to men, specifically Black men, Black women are the dumbest people on the face of the earth, who don't use any foresight, don't use any discretion, don't use any standards, don't use any boundaries, will get themselves caught up in any type of situation, all at the expense of a Black man that they want to worship, or groups of Black men that don't got nothing to do with them. So does this affect Black women? Yes, it affects you, Black women. Absolutely. Everybody nod your head up and down. Yes, it affects Black women. Absolutely. Let Black men not use their foresight, though. Let them be who they are. Because Black men have a way of digging their own grave, then jumping in it, and then years later crying victim. This is what Black men do. If you look all throughout history, Black men have been doing this. Black men have been digging ditches for themselves and then falling in it and then crying victim later. That's what Black men have been doing. And so now you have this situation right here with this article that we're going to go over. We're going to read it.
I know a lot of you guys are coping with pattern hair loss. My go-to recommendation is the eye restore.
This article here, and we're going to talk about whether we think men of no color, if we use foresight, who do we think is going to likely be the face of this? Do we think men of no color is going to be the face of this, or do we think the Black manosphere is going to? Now, this was released yesterday, actually. Incel violence, misogynistic extremism on the rise, Secret Service warns. A new Secret Service report released on Tuesday detailing the growing threat of violent attacks towards women from men who call themselves involuntary celibates or incels. And you ain't got to call yourself an incel to actually be one. We hear you complaining all over the internet about women that you can't get, promoting domestic discipline, talking about how you need to go check these women. So you don't need to say you're an incel. You can best believe in this 26-page report, they're talking more about the language that's being used than anything, than you being this self-proclaimed incel. They're likely talking more about the language that you're using. So it says, was published by the Secret Service National Threat Assessment Center, NATC, and focuses on deadly examples of recent incel-related attacks on women. According to the report, the term incel is often used to describe men who feel Men who feel unable to obtain romantic or sexual relationships with women to which they feel entitled to. Does that describe Black men mostly, or does it describe men of no color?
What's your take on this woman, LA? This foolish she's spirit, man, you know, because it's obvious she's a little off, but what's your take on this foolishness, LA? This overgeneralization of Black men, because the incel movement was started by white men, but she's equivocating the LA to Black men. What's your take on this, brother?
It seems like what she's trying to say is it's going to be like the Me Too movement. Mm-hmm. You know, it's white guys who really are on the hook for it, and they're not going to want to take that L, so they're going to blame it on Black people, or Black men and Black men, and she's willing to ride with that as long as Black men suffer. Mm-hmm. But, you know, just like the Me Too movement is having issues, especially with Black men not being able to be held accountable for certain things because people have gone too far with brothers. And now it looks a bit ridiculous. She's going to have to deal with the fact that a lot of what she's talking about
I know. She's sad, man.
She's gonna have to deal with the language of her own language towards Black men, mm-hmm. because she's gonna be viewed as an incel herself. Like the problem with a lot of this stuff nowadays is feminism is viewed as wanting equality. And men are starting to view women as equal, and women are starting to be put in the same. They're on the cusp of being put in the very same category as men.
Right.
So you don't get chivalry if you're an incel and you're saying a man is an incel because he's a man.
Right.
It's starting to look a little bit crazy.
Right.
You know, if you don't like men, and are you involuntarily celibate because when's the last time you've been with a man? I hate to make it but what about you argument? What was going on, but is happening is guys are looking at him like, okay, if you are this horribly, purposely misinformed, and you're making up stuff to suit your argument, is your argument based in the fact that you can't find anything that you're looking for in life because you're not up to par? So you're trying to make everybody not up to par so it can justify you being not up to par. Mm-hmm. Because if a person is so bad, you don't need to make up extra stuff that don't exist on them.
Right.
But putting too much sauce on it makes somebody look at you sideways. Mm-hmm. And Cynthia, she puts a lot of sauce on stuff. Mm-hmm. She goes too far. She knows she goes too far.
Right.
It makes sense to her. Whatever.
Right. And you see, LA, I remember this woman being darker. You know, she was like Michael Jackson. The bleaching of the skin. What is that about, in your opinion?
Maybe it's lighting. Maybe I don't. Like if I'm gonna keep it a whole buck with you. Like there are guys who don't like her on the strength of what she talks about, and I used to clown with some of them. Be like, look, the only problem with not liking Cynthia G is in the Black manosphere. There were guys in the chat that are DMing her.
Oh wow.
That are flirting with her, that still want her. So I'm like, she don't like Black men, but there are a lot of brothers who like Black women that don't like Black men. Mm-hmm. And they ain't got the memo yet. But they both think the same. You know what? I'm a little under the weather. I'm gonna say something straight to the point so I hope I'm clear.
Yeah, go ahead, brother. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Cynthia G may be viewed as crazy and purposely lying on Black men. Mm-hmm. there are a lot of people hiding behind her because she's speaking for them, and they're Black women and Black men. But more importantly, they're non-Black people who when she was talking about white people, she's got that support. Because if I'm not mistaken, when she had the divestment people was cool with her. So you should be cool with the divestment people, but not the divestment people ain't cool with you.
Right.
So let me get it right. Like you got a bunch of people on board that don't like Black men. You got people that say, well, we need to date other men, but you can't get other men. But you're saying, I don't rock with y'all because I'm not going to Zaddy, but who are you going to? Nobody. And always bringing up men in a homosexual sort of way. Mm-hmm. And you got to ask the question, when ladies go this hard, and I've seen this in my own life, they wind up having a girlfriend after a while. Because they don't like men of any color.
Right.
But the problem is when they have a girlfriend, the girlfriend is just as bad as the boyfriend that they made up in their mind.
Right.
So, I mean, what she does and what she says is not the issue for me at the end of the day. It's that you can wind up on Fox Soul being like this. Mm-hmm. That's what's the issue for me.
Well, the sad thing is nobody holds her accountable. Nobody holds her accountable for selling and overgeneralizing Black men, But, like Tim Howard said, he's correct. These are the same women that want Black male protection. These are the same women that when the enemy come knocking on the door, they want Black men to be body bags. And a lot of brothers say they're not going to do it. I'm not doing it. I'm protecting the women that are protecting me. I'm protecting the women that are going to submit to me and submit to my program. But chicks that I don't know, I'm not putting my life on the line for you. I don't know you. Just because your skin is Black don't mean you're part of my tribe. Hold tight, LA.
It's all good.
Because when I hear that an incel is often used to describe men who feel unable to obtain romantic or sexual relationships with women to which they feel entitled to, I think about the Black manosphere. I think about Kevin Samuels and his brigade of dusty, daddy-deprived, dick-riding, cyber-slurping, digital deep-throating dick suckers that follow him. That's what I think of. And that's what I think of. I don't think of anybody else but Black men. And the reason being is because you can go to any panel that they're on, and what are they going to be complaining about? They don't get women that they feel entitled to. Kevin Samuels' entire platform is catered to struggle bandits who are mad because they don't get women that they feel entitled to. And what I told you guys, that what really the so-called Godfather is going to do is lead Black men, more of them, to either a prison cell or a coffin. That's where he's going to lead them. And it kind of looks like he's about to lead them to prison first. It kind of looks like he's going to make them and turn them into a terrorist group. And I don't have a problem with it. I have no problem. Again, keep doing what you're doing, Black men. Go ahead, because your reckoning was coming anyway. This is part of it. But when we look at the highlighted part that says men who feel unable to obtain romantic or sexual relationships with women to which they feel entitled to. Do you guys remember that video that I just did when I responded to I think his name is Ruslan, I think the man of no color, and the Black man came on there complaining about modern women and how these modern women are a problem, and then referencing the mass shooters? Yeah, Black men, that's you. That's you. That's absolutely you. Ain't nobody else but you. See, because you run your mouth like a little hoe. You do. You run your mouth. You have no type of foresight at all, so you just run your mouth. That's all you do. Writing checks that your ass can't cash, especially not when it comes to the CIA. So y'all done sat up there and ran your mouths like hoes, and you're running your mouth right into a terrorist group. So go ahead, keep on doing it. Keep on doing it. I want black men to keep doing it. That's what I want black men to do. Because you're running your mouth in the right way. You sure are. Hold on, I gotta turn my heater off.
And you know, LA, when you hear this woman with her big babbling mouth go on and on and on about black men, I want to ask you a question. You're very intuitive. Do you think, and I got to be careful how I say this, but do you think that the CIA is watching these men's spaces? Or do you think that the CIA and the FBI is only watching the so-called incels, or do you think it's both, in your opinion?
No, they're watching. This is what I mean by they had the white nationalists and said they were part of terrorist organizations. That was an actual article that was referenced by like the FBI or the CIA a few years back. That's why the white guys in the white manosphere had to, for not that long ago, maybe a year, 2 years ago, that's why they were going through so much turmoil. Because YouTube had to watch them and flag them because of some of their people's ties. That ain't had, but the black manosphere kept rolling because we didn't have those issues.
Right, right.
So is that true? Yeah. Now, let me get down to the nitty-gritty by saying this. The one thing the black manosphere has up on the ladies like herself is we have more news stories because there's more women doing nutcase stuff. Mm. So she needs material to make up material, because if black men just did news on black women being out of pocket every day, we wouldn't miss a story. Mm-hmm. We can go 365 days of the year with no problem, mm-hmm. multiple times with no issue. Right. The issue that the ladies have is the stories that they want to have that fulfill their side of the argument, as far as, you know, black women needing protection from dusty black men. They don't have the plethora of stories that we do, especially the ones that make them look like victims. Mm-hmm. They just don't. So at the end of the day, you gotta throw somebody in and throw somebody else under the bus, and, you know, add somebody and add somebody's followers and add somebody's success and add somebody's failures. Because shout out to my homeboy, right? Shout out to Oshay, right? Mm-hmm. Oshay does the celebrity junk. If Oshay just wanted to focus on black women and celebrity junk, he could do that multiple times a day. Right. From celebrities to regular old everyday people, men and women. But he could just focus on the women if he wanted to every day. Mm-hmm. These ladies really have no idea, or they really don't want to look at, even like with Cynthia. Her saying what she said could be a story that people can run with for years. Mm-hmm. You don't even like babies, mm-hmm. if they're boys. There's nothing else nobody needs to say. Right. The new stories of, you know, there was a brother who sent me who tried to tag me in a story that he said the black manosphere caused this young lady to get killed. It was right. and he did what do you call it, a clickbait type of title. Guy had nothing to do with the black manosphere. Mm-hmm. It was a guy who broke up, his girlfriend broke up with him, and he snapped and he killed her, and the dad thought he didn't do it, and he just got sentenced not too long ago, and he killed the lady in 2020. Mm-hmm. Had nothing to do with the black manosphere, but that's how far you got to reach. That's how far you got to reach. There was a young lady who died years and years and years ago on YouTube. She got stalked by a guy, on another guy on YouTube. They blamed that on the black manosphere. The only problem was the black manosphere didn't exist at that time. So But when these ladies have these stories, oh, black men are not protecting women, black men are crazy, black men are this, black men are that. The problem starts happening when, hey man, it's a story of a sister stabbing a person, shooting a person, cutting the kid's hair, doing parental alienation. You know, you making fun of Kanye West and how he's flipping out, quote unquote. But what Kim Kardashian is doing is normal for black women to do to black men, especially in custody hearings. So it's like, yo, y'all overlooking so many things right now. You're seeing ladies in daytime talk shows say things that are egregious. Nobody's saying anything.
Right.
You know, you're seeing, what was the thing recently with Beyonce's mother, them doing a petition.
Right.
And
Uh-huh.
the petition itself was a story, but was also a story that brothers didn't even make a story, was Gayle King was acting surprised, like, I didn't know that people were actually bad-mouthing black men. And it's like, it's you, Gayle King, you do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's just as much of a story. Mm-hmm. This is so easy, you know, now it's ridiculous.
Right.
People could talk about Deshaun Watson, and now, told you so. You know, guess it's not what you thought. People could talk about, people was talking about Dwight Howard, and now his child's mother is locked up. Told you so.
Right.
So y'all think, a lot of y'all think, and bringing up, you know, like the CIA watching, the FBI is watching, the FBI watching that too. What's up, Mr. Palmer? What's happening? You know what I'm saying? But the FBI watching that too.
And she called out Mr. Palmer. You know, I saw the video when he was critiquing. He got it breaking news, and she called out, you know, talking about Dr. Thunder, Mr. Palmer. You know, it's just weird. I've never, you know, I've been to Brazil twice, LA, and in foreign countries, the men lead they lead their homes, they lead their communities. They don't placate to the women or feel like, I better not say nothing, she gonna get mad. It's the dumbest thing, brother, I've ever seen in my life. You know, Luke Hayes is from Venezuela, I believe. She's from South America. In South American countries, men don't placate to the women. The women placate to the men. They respect masculine authority. In Colombia, the women are conditioned to, you know, serve their brothers and their fathers. And in return, they get respect and love. They get protection and love. But here in America, men give their love and protection, and they still get nothing in return. Like Michael Jackson said, they don't really care about us. And, you know, it's a crisis in hell of normative masculinity. Slander of man, infiltration, slander of man. And from a clinical perspective, it's not healthy because men should have the ability to emote and to get their needs met. Dr. William Glasser said that there are 5 stages or 5 elements to choice theory. And Dr. Glasser said it's power, fun, freedom, survival, and belonging. Black men don't have power, many feel. Black men feel like they don't have the freedom to articulate their concerns. Black men feel like many times they don't belong. Black men feel like many times they are not surviving. And black men feel like they're in this karmic cycle, LA, where nothing is never enough. They got to go through the cycle of purification to get the love, adulation, and respect from a woman. But you can go to countries where Sweet Little Bean is at, you know, where the women are feminine, where the women are traditional. You can go to countries where Luke Hazley is from, where those women are feminine for the most part and traditional. And we know that there are flaws in every country. No woman is perfect. But, you know, in those countries, the men rule and the women respect their men. But you got good, hard-working men that are better than average, and you got women that are less than average that think those men are not good enough. And so it's like a negative caste system where these men. So I've always said, brother, if I was a single man again, you know, sadly, and it's hard to find the uncovered gems. There are some out there, LA, but I don't know if I would deal with some, you know, in America, because you got to go do so much, man. Just to get quality, man. You got to give up so much. You got to deal with so much of a headache. You got to deal with the ones that have been indoctrinated by liberal dogmas, man. And a lot of guys are saying it's not enough. Why do you think the FBI is watching, though, LA? You know, I think you said it more or less, but I mean, you know, I don't think any of us is doing anything wrong, this exercise of free speech. But do you think this is something new, or do you think it's been happening for a long time?
society's changing. And just like the smartphone and the camera really put a spotlight on how far people have gone to get over in using the system. So people are watching because crime has kind of evolved and changed. But now with so many cameras, it's kind of ramped down. Using last year, January 6th thing, the insurrection, people are still trying to fathom how that happened. And if you're a non-Black person, you're like, easy. Like, that's nothing new. It's just, I guess y'all haven't seen it at the Capitol, but this is normal behavior that we think is normal. That's the same thing that went on with the men. Then it was the you and I replace us thing. And the reason I'm using those as an example is because guys had started recording what had been going on with men and women and drop pickups and drop-offs. You know what I'm saying? Courts have started recording the conversations because the courts have their own apps, to see if the kids were actually talking to the parents or talking with their parents or this, that, and the third. So now society changed to the point where we're all under surveillance now because a lot of people have been lying.
Right.
And since so many people got caught lying, now we gotta change the laws. You got just same thing with the PPP loans. People thought the PPP people wasn't listening. You thought that those people weren't listening. Now people got arrested. Now people got locked up. Because nowadays, we're in a space. Oh, you got it this way. We're in a space where the dog. We're in a space where everybody, even the FBI, has to go. We might have to change the way we do things because we might have to lock up different people. So now, since we have to lock up different people, we're gonna have to. And the evidence is blatant now. So yeah, you're getting watched, just like the FBI, and the police, were watching drug dealers. When there's too many cameras around, guess what? You can't lock up drug dealers like you used to because you don't have people in the streets like you used to. Are you gonna lock up the connects now? Bigger problem. Bigger problem. When now I can say that I'm saying this. There was a few articles back when not too long ago about cruise ships having these big drug busts with tons and tons of marijuana and cocaine and I think meth, right? But they couldn't put it on anybody because they just happened to be in a ship. Well, the problem with that is that with the men in the manosphere and the FBI watching the men is too many men were right.
Right.
So don't assume the FBI is just watching men in the manosphere because men are trying to do something to women. These men are putting out these stories and they're right. So even if you wanted to look at the men as slanderous, it's unfortunate that the men can pull up a new, if I'm in Texas and I can pull up a news story in Arizona just like that. You're in Carolina, you can pull up a news story in New York just like that. And you talk about all the FBI statistics of what's going on, who did what to whom. And you come to the end of these stories and you find out men got set up, women lied on somebody, somebody got drugged, somebody got set up, not just set up. What is the thing with Cardi B back in not too long ago, a year or 2 years ago, when she was online talking about how she drugged men and set them up and robbed them for studio time.
Right, yeah, you're right. Everything you're saying is right. Yeah, she was indicted or accused of
she wasn't indicted or accused. She just said it on a live.
Okay, right. Okay, go ahead. Okay.
And it was all good. She said that she set guys up and she lied. She set guys up and robbed them for studio time so she can make her album. And some of those guys got assaulted by transsexuals when they were drugged. This was in the middle part of the when people were talking about Bill Cosby being so bad. So the FBI got to look at stuff like that. Like, wait a minute. You just admitted this on camera, but hey, you selling another album. The same thing, I guess, that will be going on with the, I'm guessing, I'm making an assumption with the Megan Thee Stallion story. People are unfollowing her from social media because what? Looks like maybe Tory Lane didn't shoot you in the foot. But we've been running with this story for what, a year and a half, 2 years?
Right. The victim narrative. Right.
So the evidence had to already be there because the police had it. So all of a sudden, guess what? I don't know. FBI got to take a look at that because we're talking about all state cases. You know, the FBI got to take a look at all the people who said Bill Cosby did something to him and then they got him locked up, but then all of a sudden they had to let him go because it was circumstantial and it was BS. FBI got to look at that. So now we got a problem now. The FBI got to look at this story on Chris Brown. This ain't the first time somebody did this to Chris Brown. It's about the third. And the news came out like he was guilty, he's guilty. It's like, yo, I don't know. The FBI got to look at that now.
And you know, I think, I don't know if it's in Russia or some country, or maybe South Korea, or I don't know where it's at. But what they're doing, LA, if women are caught lying, the penalty is going to be harsh. You know, we don't hold women accountable. Korea, right. And they're beginning to hold women accountable for lying on men and slander, LA, on manhood, or slander, the slander of man. The slander of man is becoming all too often, LA. Good men have lost their lives. They've lost their livelihood, all because of slander. And many times, LA, it's not a cream puff. Many times it's a very masculine man. They fear masculinity because they don't understand it. But what they don't understand is that a class of warrior can rise no higher than the people that support the warrior class. These men are not going to put their lives on the line. They're seeing the chicanery of a lot of these women. And they're also looking at the women that are not calling these women out. A lot of these women are complicit by their silence because they don't say anything about it. So silence means you're just as guilty because you won't check them, you won't correct them. And, you know, many times they join them, LA, in their alliances. But imagine when the barbarians come at the door. What are they going to do when you got a truck of men with 4 and 5, coming at the door to take their lives? What are they going to do? Do you think black men are just going to put their lives on the line just for the cause? It's not going to happen. We're going to finish listening to this, Ellie. I know you got to go to work in the morning. I'm going to hear a little bit more of this, and then I'm going to let the guys come up and ask you some questions real quick. Hold tight.
Let's continue, though. And look, I'm telling you what the CIA is about to deal with you. This gender-based ideology, sometimes referred to as male supremacy. Remember, women can't do anything without men. We need to have a world with only men. Women don't build nothing. Men are the prize. Who do you think is running around with the male supremacy? Do you think it's men of no color who have global dominance, or do you think it's black men who are the conquered bucks? Who runs around talking about the man as the prize? Who runs around talking about the woman needs to submit to the man, that the man has dominion over the woman? You don't need to say male supremacy. They're talking about the language, which is your ideology. This is black men. This is black men that they're talking about. anyway, has received, so sometimes referred to as male supremacy, has received increased attention in recent years from researchers, government agencies, and advocacy groups due to its association with high-profile incidents of mass violence. Since 2014, attacks inspired by the incel movement, and since we already identified the incel movement as Black men, anybody who's smart, who in the chat box, after I just read you, put a 1 in the chat box if what you just heard me read refers to Black men more than anybody else. Put a 2 in there if you think it refers to men of no color or anybody other than Black men. This is what Black men done talked themselves into. This is what Black men's voice is the results of, because you got a voice now. And now you get to get up on the internet and you get to whine and cry like little incel bitches. And now the CIA, you got their attention. You wanted to go mainstream. You wanted Kevin Samuels to go mainstream, so his ideology is going mainstream. Mainstream all the way over to Homeland Security and the CIA. That's what you done did. Because if you don't think that this is going to hit the Homeland Security too, you must be out your damn mind. Foresight. Foresight. Since 2014, attacks inspired by the incel movement have left dozens of women across the United States and Canada dead. Some of them we've seen Black men do right on Facebook and Instagram Live. Yep. The NATC report specifically takes a look at a 2018 shooting by Scott Paul Beerley. I don't know who that is, but this is at the yoga studio. I guess this is a yoga studio situation. But even if this were the man of no color, who do you think is going to be the fall man? Who do you think is about to be the face of this? It wouldn't matter if this was 20 men of no color on here. The most vocal people are Black men. Black men are the most vocal with this, and they're always, the loudest bitch in the room is always the weakest and the easiest target, and that's Black men. You the loudest bitches on the internet with your male supremacy and your anti-feminism and your incel behavior towards women that you're not entitled to, but that you think you are. Black men are the loudest in the room with this. So it wouldn't matter if you had 110 men of no color. Black men are the face of this. They ain't gonna say it, but they go describe it. It said in that specific case, Beerley gave numerous warning signs that he supported violent and extremist ideologies throughout his life. When he was a teenager, he was accused of stalking his classmates and penned a 7,000-word revenge fantasy titled Rejected Youth about a person who likes to go around sending people to meet their maker, and these people were women. But it doesn't even matter about this. It said other red flags exhibited include several incidents in which he was arrested for groping women in public, and a report from his parents that they slept with their door locked. And I'm not sleeping with my door locked in the house with my child in it. You getting your ass up out of there. If that's my kid, you getting up out of there. Now, this is an interesting statement that he said, and I want to ask y'all, and I'm going to tell y'all somebody else who made a similar statement. It said, if I can find one decent female to live with, I will find many indecent females to die with. That sounds oddly similar to Obsidian saying he wants to see women laying on the street in a pool of their own blood. That's what that sounds like.
You see how she's taking
and
out
yes,
of context.
that man said that on YouTube in a live video. Tabs were able to play the playback. That sounds a lot like when Obsidian was saying he want to see women in a pool of their own blood, though. This is what Black men been out here doing. Are we going to act like Kevin Samuels as he make whipping sounds and talks about domestic discipline? Is he not encouraging violence against women to his crowd of incel dusty beta males? Really? Are we going to act like that's not what Black men are doing all over the internet? So when you say you want your daddy to go mainstream, well, fortunately, because y'all are so degenerate and violent and a threat, I told y'all, don't worry about what Tina Knowles is doing. The world knows who black men are. She can be as delusional as she want to be. Don't nobody care. Let Tina Knowles make her dumb documentary. Do you think it's going to affect the fact that this is profiling black men? No. No. Because this ain't about to be on Men of No Color. Not while black men are running around doing what they doing with the ideology and the rhetoric that they have. This ain't going to be on nobody but black men. Nobody but black men. And see, that's why I say they're dumb. Because if they weren't dumb, they would know that you can try to do the same thing that Men of No Color do. Okay, sure. Because black men didn't get the manosphere. They followed Men of No Color. Men of No Color had MGTOW and manosphere before black men, even Red Pill. And then black men decided to follow it.
Okay, LA, let's address
because
that.
They have to follow somebody. They don't have any.
Because I've always been told that black men really were the originators of going their own way. Maybe not formally, but they always went their own way. What's your take on these fallacious accusations, brother?
The men going their own way is something that somebody who's basically will be considered a black man is like one of the founders of. The thing about it was, brothers looked at it like the stuff that the white guys were saying we were doing to go our own way. It was like, brothers been doing that for years. We just never had an acronym for it.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm.
So she knows that, though. She already knows that. As far as like the white manosphere, yeah, white men have issues and black men have issues. Did the brothers try to work together and come together? Yeah, but there's too much racism. So the brothers like, nah, no turkey, forget it, we out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's all it was. So, you know, there's some people who can still work in this space or work in both spaces, but in general, you normally, you don't see white guys in the black manosphere. They may be in the comment section, but you rarely see, you rarely, if ever, see a guy who's in the quote unquote white manosphere ever come to somebody in the black manosphere.
Right.
And that's for a specific reason. You know, they're not comfortable around these type of spaces. And we're not going to let them be comfortable around these type of spaces, not because they're just white, is because of they have a tendency to come in our spaces and tell us what we need to think and what we need to say, just like the women do, and we're not having it. You know, so you got to go to the white side and do all that. And it's like, some of us are just not doing that at all. At all. And that's the bulk, that's actually the majority of us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we're not into kowtowing.
Right. And shouldn't be kowtowing. I agree with you 1,000%. We shouldn't be kowtowing, but you were seeing some of the fallacious assumptions that she's making. And it's almost like she's trying to put black men in a permanent caste system, where she's trying to equivocate black men as being shiftless and aimless. And the sad thing is, LA, her daddy is black. They always say your mom is black, but her father's a black man. And it's obvious that Cynthia G has some undiagnosed mental illness or some undiagnosed mental pathologies that she's dealing with. And she's projecting all her pain, hate, hurt, anger, and pain to every man that looks like he's black. But that's what happens when you get with dusty black men. We know there are some dusty black men, And King Kunta, I'm going to say this, brother. I'm talking to King Kunta now. Brother, you're more than welcome to listen to the discussion, but the things and the ideology that you're talking about, we don't support that on our stream. You know, if you're happy being, married to a woman, by 5 baby mamas or whatever, more power to you, brother. You're more than welcome to listen. But all the trolling will stop, or Troy or myself will exit you out. Don't mind you listening, brother, if you're a man or a woman. I don't know if you're a man or a woman because it's an avatar. But I believe in men having empowerment and the right to live their lives on their own terms. So I come to you in a spirit of respect. Please do not cause consternation in my chat. If you want to talk in general as it relates to the topic, you're more than welcome. But all this foolishness about, men marrying single moms, no, men are not signing up for that. If that's what they want to sign up for, that's their right. But I'll ask you in the spirit of kindness to refrain from that, or you will be booted out expeditiously. So I'm just saying in the spirit of respect, brother, but we don't want that foolishness on my channel because these men are trying to learn. The women are trying to learn. And if you're happy with the situation that you're in, more power to you, brother. I ain't mad at you. If you think that your worth is worth marrying women that made bad choices and you want to go wife them up, hey, that's you. But I believe the men should get the best bang for their buck. And if they want to be with a woman that got kids by multiple men, hey, do you. But to the single men that have never had kids, I believe those men should get the best bang for their buck. We're going to finish listening to Ellie. How much more time you got, brother? I know you got to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah, a few more minutes because I got
What's a few more minutes? Let me know.
about maybe 10.
All right. We're going to speed it up there. Hold tight.
Any leadership qualities or originality. This black man.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do, LA. I'm going to drop the link, and I'm going to let you guys come up and ask LA some questions. So what's your take and, all this anger and animus about Oshay leaving the manosphere? I don't even know if he ever left, but some say he's left. But what's your take on people saying he left? And if he did leave, is he justified? Or some say they feel that, he's like the emperor with no clothes. He didn't stand firm on the thing that he built. But what's your take on that, LA?
That's my guy. So I'm people will say I'm biased. So, and I understand that.
I respect Oshay too. Oshay is a good brother, but go ahead.
I'm not giving. That's my guy. Like that's my guy. But here's what's interesting. Did he say he was left? He's leaving. Yeah. And he's like, you know what? Instead of wind up me getting into it with y'all, I'm gonna just gracefully bow out. Because if I gotta start if I gotta go back and diss this person and diss that person, diss this person, I'm trying not to. He's basically saying I'm trying not to. I'm gone past getting into it all the time, which is not a problem. So here's the thing. And I said this, I had to talk to a brother about this recently. The whole time the Black Manosphere was the 2.0 part that we were in, the whole time that's been on, Oshay wasn't even in the US.
Mm-hmm.
He was in medical school in Poland, and he would be in Uganda where he's at now. Mm-hmm. So, and now, if anybody knows anything about Uganda, the internet is kind of spotty out there. So even the video that he said that in is a spotty video because he's in Uganda. So they wanted him to, man, when you going to keep doing the Rumble? Me and him did the brother pill. We haven't done the brother pill in a very long time. You know what I'm saying? Not a big deal to me. But they want him to do everything he was doing in Poland when the internet was popping and he was in medical school and he was basically working around the clock because he'd be doing it in a different time zone. So he's like, people are like, man, when you going to... He was always spotlighting people and putting people on and giving people a floor and a platform. And when he stopped that, it became an issue. Then it became, say, man, look at all the drama you caused in this space. Look at all the people that you put on in this space that are problematic. It's like, yeah, he introduced some problematic people, but he introduced far more actual cool people that y'all didn't want to deal with. Y'all didn't want to deal with the people that was teaching you tech. That's a you problem. You didn't want to deal with the people who was teaching you how to the trucking. That's a you problem. That ain't a him problem. You didn't want to deal with the brothers who was giving you solutions on your let's just say family court or child support issues. That's a you problem. You wanted to be around people who argued all the time. Right. That's the part you gravitated to. Mm-hmm. So you missed the part that that you gravitated to which was arguments. And when it stopped being arguments, you stopped liking it. That's a you issue. So if he leaves the space, which he said he just he doing his thing. He's a grown man.
Right.
He don't really owe truth be told, he don't owe the vast majority of people that got a problem with him nothing.
Right.
And this is where it goes a little bit further. I took a pause because I'm about to tell y'all straight up.
Hold your point, Ella. Let me shout out my man Devon Moran out for the $5 super sticker. Thank you, Devon Moran. Just showing some love, brother, as always. Go ahead, LA, because I know you got to go to work. But go ahead, brother. And thank you for appearing on the show. Thank you, sir.
All you people who upset that he ain't do something for you, or he not going to do something for you, he not available to do something for you, you ain't put on nobody on your own channel. You ain't supported people on your own channel, the people who have channels. Don't act like all the same issue y'all having with Kevin. It's not an Oshay problem. It's not a Kevin problem. I hate to break the news to y'all. I can name about 4 or 5 other brothers whose channels started growing and this very thing happened. Every time somebody grows, every time somebody's channel grows, it's a diss. Without fail. So, and a lot of you cats who are newer, and a lot of you cats who've been in the space older, if somebody rocks with you, they rock with you. But they can't be here 24/7 to make sure your channel grow. See, and I'm gonna be a jerk when I say this, and I'm sorry for being a jerk. A lot of you clowns want people to build up their whole platform and basically give it to you and walk away.
Right. I agree.
And if you're not willing to do that, you fake.
Right.
That's where we have a problem.
Right.
Bruh, it's one thing when somebody say put me on, they're saying, hey, give me a platform, give me a spotlight. They can give you a platform, they can give you a spotlight, they can share your videos, they can shout you out. Here's the problem though. That don't mean people gonna subscribe to you. That don't mean people gonna stay. That don't mean people are gonna be interested in the content that you make, because that might not be their cup of tea at that point.
That's true. You're right. You're exactly right.
So after that's over with, what do you want from them then? And I'm saying this from, I've been knowing Oshay for years. I've been on panels for years. That didn't equate to me getting extra subscribers. And I don't hate him for that.
Right.
We've done numerous shows together. And guess what? If I pick up the phone and I say, what's happening? I hope you're doing good. I mean that. I don't go, man, I didn't get but this amount of subscribers. I need another boost, bro. That's where we have the problem.
Right.
If you want to go to Kevin Samuel's page, Kevin, put me on. That don't mean his 1 million subscribers are going to subscribe to you tomorrow.
That's true.
Sorry.
That's true. That's true.
Some of you guys want to work with other brothers. Man, why come me and you should collab? Guess what? Just because you collab doesn't mean you're going to go viral.
Right. That's
it means you collab.
Right. You're correct. Oshay didn't bring me into the space, but I remember when I came on, I did have like 53 subs, and Oshay was kind enough. He said, man, I like some of the things you're doing, and he brought me on. And I'm grateful, but the bulk of my work was not because of Oshay. The Oshay gave me a little small boost, no doubt. Shout out to that brother. But like you're right, LA, it took work. I had to work. I had to get it from the mud. I had to get creative. I had to put in work. A lot of the things you see me that I'm having in my studio, brothers, cost me literally over $5,000 easy. But I put in the work for it. Nobody gave me nothing. The creativity, that came from me. Coming up with the topics, that came from me. So I invested in my own platform. If I had been complicit and just say, okay, well, Oshay helped me out, and I'm going to keep going on Oshay. No, I got this on my own, bro. Shout out to the lead attorney. He gave me a small boost. And you going on your show helped me out, collaborating and working with other brothers like Black Ram. But the bulk of my work came from hard work and sacrifice, man. And, I think people think that, they're going to build themselves off your platform. It doesn't work that way. Because you're right. Just because you have content, it doesn't mean that other people on that platform might like your content. Sometimes those subscribers are dead subscribers. When you go live stream, they don't even watch you. So you're right, LA. It's not always about, going on platforms. It can help, but it don't always mean that you're going to get support. So, but I know you got to go. Go ahead and finish saying what you got to say real quick. I know you got to go to work, and I appreciate it, man. This was a good stream. I didn't get to all of it with Mr. Palmer, man, but we're gonna do some more collabs at some point. But go ahead, brother. What would you want to say is in closing comments about infiltrated slander of man? Where do you see the direction of these men's spaces going? Do you think they're going to continue to be a threat to the masses because it goes against, it's counterintuitive to what's called inclusion or the New World Order, in my opinion? Or do you think that men are going or do you think that they're going to slowly but surely begin to shut it down? Because when Kevin Samuels started growing, and you don't have to agree 100% with what Kevin's saying, you don't have to agree 100% with what Mio LA is saying, but when he started to grow, he got a lot of notoriety and recognition. But now, all of a sudden, I don't know if people are beginning to watch him and silence him as well. Shout out to XL Pro for that $5 cash out. And also shout out to Michael Green. Thank you, brothers. But go ahead, LA, real quick.
I'm gonna say first and foremost, thanks for having me. My apologies to people who are watching, because at times I was distracted. I got a puppy today, right. So that's what was going on. So my apologies about that. As far as the topic and all encompassing things, I'm gonna say this, and I hope y'all understand where I'm going, what I mean by this. This space is going to get infiltrated by people who look at this as a come up since the pandemic.
Right. Excellent.
So don't think everybody who actually wants to help Black men. Some people want to help themselves. And they're looking at this space to do it. And Kevin Samuels was the beacon of, man, he blew up in a year. I know I could do that. Well, here's the problem. Here's the major problem that you're going to have. Don't nobody know you because you ain't putting in the work. You just want to ride somebody else's wave. And that never worked for anybody. Never. Second problem. That's probably the most important thing about all of this stuff. There is no way you can consider yourself a man at all, whether you're in the manosphere or Black manosphere, and you don't want to put in the work as a man. You want another man to hand it to you on a silver platter.
Yes, sir. Right.
Now, are we going to get infiltrated? Absolutely. Have people tried it? Absolutely. Just for the record, for all you people who tried, just know this space ain't as fractured as you think. So if you think you can sneak into the room in the back door and nobody knows, people know. Even the people that are beefing and don't like each other, they will say, hey, do you know who such and such is? Is this coming from your direction? I don't know that dude. Is this coming from your direction? I don't know them either. So where they came from? Out of the blue. Okay. You about to get handled. That's how this is going down. If y'all think y'all just gonna say anything and do anything and show up, and if you think you can come across here and make content about I'm gonna gossip my way into the space and to the top, you're gonna get your head chopped off after you make enough material to make yourself look stupid.
Right.
Because though there's drama in this space, though there's unrest in this space, there are plenty of guys who've been, including Oshay, who stepped out of the space. We've been doing this stuff for YouTube, even made AdSense and paid.
Right.
You're not finna just come up in here and disrespect the space because you want to get a YouTube check, and think there will be no repercussions.
Right.
So some of y'all, I just want y'all to realize, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. You might be on a bad side of, oh man, these dudes are playing politics. No, it's not politics. It's not politics. You tried to be slick and you about to get crushed. Nobody cares if you don't like Kevin. Nobody cares if you don't like Oshay. Nobody cares if you don't like a AMS or MTR, a poor man pie. Nobody cares. You know why? Because the only reason you showed up is because you looked at it like it was a check. Because 9 times out of 10, you were one of the people in the Great Resignation. And now you're trying to figure out how to put money in your pocket because you didn't set your behind home for a year and did nothing. And now you done ran out of options. You ain't finna come into space like that.
Right.
That's how you not gonna come into space.
Yes, sir. Right. No doubt. Well, LA, man, that was an awesome expose, man. Man, I feel like we just started, but I can't believe we've been on the stream for about 3 hours. But that happens when you're having fun, man. But we're going to do it again. We're going to do it big, brother. I love your insight and your wisdom. And, man, thank you, man, and blessings to you and your little dog, man. I want to get me a German Shepherd, man. But I want to get me a boy dog. Are you gonna get them clipped, man? Or are you gonna let them?
Yeah, we just got him today, like literally like 6:30. So I'm pretty much. She wants to get his ear. His tail's already clipped, but his ears aren't.
But you're gonna leave his gonads intact. His testicles.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna cut him off.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you gonna let him be a dog?
Yes.
You ain't gonna take out the dog in him. I feel you, man. I agree with you.
No. Absolutely.
But yeah, I think it makes them soft when you do that. I mean, I know they get aggressive because they want a girl, but I think it takes away their roof. You know, I believe in keeping that intact. But anyway, man, go ahead, man. Thank you, LA, man. I appreciate it, man. And anything you want to add for closing comments, or that was more or less your closing comment?
That was it, man. Yeah, all y'all take care, man. Have a good one.
Okay, all right, LA. Much love and blessings, man. I'll see you around, brother. Thank you, sir.
Peace.
All right, be good. All right. So I dropped the link, guys. If you guys want to come up and add to the conversation, we're about to sign off in a minute. We're going to sign off in a minute. Thank you guys once again. But we're going to sign off in a minute. Did anyone want to come in and ask a question about infiltrated slander of man? Your take about women coming into men's spaces. As I said earlier, in theory, I think they can come in theory, but only under minute conditions. But in principle, I would say no. Theory and principle are two different things because some are not mature enough to handle male conversations. Many times men feel like I got to be careful what I say. And if you come into a man's space, you got to be under the guise and understanding that whatever men say, you might not like what they're saying. So that's the fallacy and that's the danger of coming into a male space. But I'm going to sign off in a minute. It's 3 hours in, man. This has been a great show called Infiltrated, Slander of Man. It's the manosphere under attack. And in the meantime, guys, I don't know, to the ones that came in late, I'm going to run this commercial ad about mental health real quick. And the link has been dropped if anybody want to pop in and ask a question. But if not, I'm going to sign off. And thank you guys for joining in. Luke Casely and everyone, thank you guys. Hold tight. Are you a victim of brokenness and despair? A broken man is a hopeless man, and a hopeless man is a very dangerous man. Many times, many of you young men that are listening come from homes that are very toxic and very dysfunctional. And because of that, many of you have deferred your power in many ways to the point it's led over into your social life, and many times led over into your relationships. If you guys are dealing with mental health pathologies, conscious and unconscious, come see me at kosherclinician@gmail.com. That's kosherclinician@gmail.com. It's important that you deal with your mental health in order to be a better person for yourself, your loved ones, and also your community. But because mental health is often stigmatized, many of you often suffer in silence. Don't be a victim in silence. And see me once again at kosherclinician@gmail.com. And I need you guys to remember this. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. There are 7 steps that a man must go through in order to become an optimized male. And male mental health is one of those elements that's paramount to the functioning of a man. Be well. What happens when men... All right, guys. This has been a great platform. It's been a great show tonight, guys. Anyone else want to pop in for less than the next 5 minutes to ask a question, feel free to. If you don't have any questions, I know some of you guys got to go to work. We're going to sign off. But you know, guys, you know, men got to stand firm in their convictions. They got to be unwavering in their convictions. They should never feel like they can't speak their mind due to consternation or due to pushback. I believe that men and women should have the right to liberty, happiness, and the pursuit of freedom. And no man should feel like they're under attack when they're more or less speaking their mind. I know there's some that don't agree with everything that I say, and I'm okay with that. But men should have the right to live their lives on their own terms, free of feeling shamed and free of guilt. So in the meantime, we're going to sign off, guys. Thank you for joining. You guys have been awesome. Shout out to Red Lord Black Pill Sigma for that $5 super sticker. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Red Lord Black Pill Sigma, that $5 super sticker. He said that I came late. What is this about? SYBM, the manosphere, of both. Well, it's a myriad of different things, brother. It's about infiltration, women being in men's spaces. Also, it's about the current manosphere and Oshay Duke Jackson leaving. But more or less, it's talking about male empowerment and men living their lives on their own terms. So once again, guys, it's been a good show. It's been a great show. Thank you to everyone that donated, guys. We're about to sign off. I will be seeing you guys soon. And to the ones that are watching, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. And once again, go check out LAR Movement. He's still moving, guys. So once again, I love you guys. Thank you for everything you guys have done. And we are signing off. Who told you that you couldn't rise from the morass of your current situation? Who told you that you had to be a slave to the pain of your past? Who told you that you had to settle for mediocrity in this current culture called America? Who told you that you couldn't change your mind? Talk to me. Now's the time for empowerment. And I'm not the Reverend Knight. I'm the coach of clinician.
addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Pull you down till you dry. Pull you down till you dry. All the time, ease my mind. All the time, ease my mind. I know that you're dangerous, I'm addicted to you. I might rent the Lambo and go drive it like it's stolen. I've been living wild, I'm just going through the motions. Stumbling out the Uber, grab my hand, gave me a notion. Swimming in your water, but it feels just like the ocean. I can't lie, I've really been addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Pull you down till you dry.